Alright, everybody, welcome one more time to another episode here on the Sitrep podcast. I am joined by my friend Rasmus, and we're going to take a look at some more Panzer Leader 1940, specifically the Battle of Arras in 1940. So, hello Rasmus, how you doing?
Not too bad. Looking forward to this.
Alright. So, yeah, as people noticed, or as people have, seen watching our previous content, we've been doing a lot of 1940 Blitzkrieg content here on Sitrep Podcast. We've been passing through the 80th anniversaries of some of these battles, so we wanted to give them a nice, good deep dive, so to speak, in different levels of wargaming. We're back now to Command Tactical, so we're using Panzer Leader, and the Battle of Arras, 1940. This is probably one of the more famous episodes in the 1940 Blitzkrieg campaign. So, I will go through the background really fast, because again, people who've been watching us on our Twitch or YouTube live streams lately have probably seen this map 100 times by now, so I'm going to go through it really fast. May 1940, Germany finally makes up its mind to invade the countries in Western Europe. So Holland, Belgium, and Luxembourg, and then of course they go into France immediately after that. No worries, here they come. They sort of goad the Allies into jumping into Belgium. When I say the Allies, I mean the French and the British. They goad the British and the French to jumping into Belgium to defend Holland and Belgium with the sort of masking attack here by Army Group B. Once the Allies jump into Belgium, that sort of puts their neck in the noose, so to speak, for the real German attack, which comes in slightly to the south through the Ardennes forest, and they smash through what becomes known as the Panzer corridor. I mention this because it's going to be super important to today's game, the Panzer corridor. So they send pretty much most of their tanks in a single concentrated wedge that's under Panzer Group Kleist here, Army Group A, through here, and smash through this area, and they take all this ground, and they reach these channel ports. Once they reach these channel ports, again, I know I've gone over this 100 times, so again, super fast. Once they reach these channel ports, they've sliced off all these Allied forces here to the north. This is the entire British Expeditionary Force, the entire Belgian Army, and two major armies of the French Army, notably the 1st and 7th. Upwards of 500,000 people are now trapped in this huge pocket that's, the size of some states, and they start squeezing, and eventually they get squeezed into a tiny pocket right here at Dunkirk, and again, we've all seen the movie, we know what happens there. Right before that happens, again, this attack begins on May 10th, 1940. Dunkirk kind of gets started the last 3 or 4 days of May, but between those, specifically on May 21st, the Allies have been launching a series of desperate counterattacks along the flanks of this, again, so-called Panzer corridor. De Gaulle sort of fought his first battle here at Montcornet. Actually, I think he did some fighting in World War I, but his first, as a general, as a commander. He fought some battles here at Montcornet with some Charbis. He didn't do so well. Nobody did nobody did very well against these Germans. And then they continued up this way. Now, once we get here to Arras, on May 21st, is when the British really launched their first big attack. And their idea is to cut the German Panzer corridor from north and south with converging French and British attacks and slice through the thinnest part of this German neck, so to speak, that has their forces cut off. So yes, the Allies' neck is in the noose, but the Allies have an idea. I've got a knife, I'm going to try and cut the noose and get us out of here. And right here is where they try to cut it. Obviously, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for a number of reasons. Number one, the French, coordination and cooperation, and communication between the French and the British is really terrible. It's trash. And it was bad even before the Germans cut all the lines of communication here by establishing this Panzer corridor. So this southern part of the French attack, yeah, you can go ahead and ignore that because that never happens. So now we just have the attack from the north. So now you're trying to cut a piece of rope with a pair of scissors that only has one blade. To cut a rope, with a pair of scissors, you need the blades to be coming from both directions. So the second the French kind of drop the ball down here to the south, this Arras counterattack is kind of doomed. But the British and the French tried anyway. There are some French units up here as well. That's not often discussed when people talk about Arras. The French actually do have a pretty big part of this battle, and obviously also the British. So zooming in a little bit. So if we take, if we take that larger yellow rectangle and we zoom in a little bit, we are now looking at this map here, and this shows the main part of the Battle of Arras. Obviously, this is Arras here in the center, and we have the part that's famous, the 1st British Tank Brigade, primarily made up of 7th and 4th battalions of the Royal Tank Regiment, RTR. And their idea is to come down here around the west side of Arras and cut through this position held by the 7th Panzer Division, commanded by a not yet famous General Erwin Rommel. He was kind of a kid now. When I say kid, he was a kid for a general. He was like, I think in his late 40s, which, he was not, Field Marshal Erwin Rommel, the Desert Fox yet. He was just kind of getting started out. He had a great career in World War I as lieutenant and a captain, but as far as a general goes, this was one of his first big battles. Or I should say this was his first big campaign. He's fought numerous battles through Belgium and France in the earlier part of this particular campaign, but here is where he was really put to the test, and this is kind of where he started to become famous. So we're looking at Rommel the prequel, Rommel the, what's the word they use in movies? The origin story, almost. There's also some SS troops, which we won't be looking at. Again, there's a lot of French troops here. 3rd DLC, not DLC, DLM, we've looked at in previous battles. They're kind of outside our green box, so we won't really be looking at them. The point is, Arras was a pretty big battle, and we can't do it all, even in a big chunky game like Panzer Leader, so we're just going to do a small part of it, and that's the part that's outlined here, and this is the part that is probably the most famous. So when people think of Arras, there's all this going on, but when people are talking about Arras, they're usually talking about this little part right here. And we'll get into that. So this is a more detailed military view of the Battle of Arras. Again, the area that we're going to be looking at. This gets more into detail as far as the actual units that are engaged and what directions they were going and what progress they made and didn't make. This is the picture that most people think of when they think of Arras. Again, it's the German 88s, hull down, along the road, behind some hedgerows, or small hedges, trying to hit British Matilda 1s and 2s. There are 2 different kinds of Matildas. There's the famous Matildas, and then there's the Matildas everyone forgets about, but there are actually 2 types. We'll have both of them in our Panzer Leader game today. We had some additional sources. Long story short, take your first shot. We did our research on this. We even have topographical data as far as the battlefield in question. We wanted to make sure that we got the elevations right as far as where the high ground is. Historical sources often describe Rommel standing on a hill directing the fire of his 88s. I could find no hill. That's probably another one of those things that gets embellished by history. There are some low ridges, so I guess maybe that's what they were talking about. And yeah, we've got some pretty good sources as far as what Rommel actually had and what forces he had, not only in his 7th Division, but specifically on this battlefield. So, as we often do here on Sitrep Podcast, we've done our homework. So this recreation of this particular part of the Battle of Arras, about 1,600 hours, 21 May 1940, in this little 3 mile by 2 mile rectangle of ground. It's kind of, it's still a war game. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty close. All right, so that's all of our background.
And it sounds a lot better for Rommel to stand on a hill than hiding in a trench.
Well, I'm sure he was standing out in the open, and I'm sure he was way too far forward because Rommel.
Yep.
Yeah, Rommel was, as you'll see here in a second, Rommel tended to put himself in some pretty dumb places, personally. This is going to be one of those times, and part of my job as a German player is literally going to be protecting Rommel or getting him the hell out of there, because he is on the table, he is an objective, he is a vulnerable unit, because he's always too far forward. So he was definitely on the field. I'm just trying to figure out what hill he was standing on. So I have him on a ridge. We'll take a look at it in a second. But I just don't think there are any real hills in the area. I mean, unless you call these little ridges hills. Anyway, here's our map. We have I know it comes from Arras. I think it goes to Amiens. I could be wrong about that. But we have this railroad that was there at the time. It's kind of discontinued service. It's kind of overgrown now. But at the time, this railroad was a major feature. We have the roads approximately where they were, the different towns, and the high ground and the low ground. This creek is a spur of the river that goes through Arras. The name escapes me at the moment. It's probably a lot smaller than I drew it on this map, but in game terms, this creek is fordable. This creek will not be using the normal Panzer leader stream rules. This will be using Panzer Blitz gully rules, because this thing is super small. If you look back at our background, at the historical results of this game, you'll see where 4th RTR had no problems at all in crossing this stream. That's 4th RTR there, and there's the stream. They went over that like it wasn't even nothing, and they were at least another 2 or 3 miles south of that before they were finally stopped. So yeah, that stream, like, it literally costs 1 extra movement point to move through, and gives you +1 defense if you're in it when you're fired at. It's a shallow kind of a trench, not like normal Panzer Leader stream rules, which make them pretty much impassable and why bridges are so important in Panzer Leader, but not in this scenario. The forces here look awfully small, and that's by design. Arras was not a terribly big battle, at least not this part of it. We have the 2 battalions of 7th and 4th Battalion of RTR that are kind of get glued together into 1st Tank Brigade as they stood on that day. They're not full strength. Also, the tanks are sort of swapped between the 2 battalions. Again, just because people might check out other sources, go to Wikipedia or whatever, and they'll be like, 4th RTR was all Matilda 1s and all the Matilda 2s were in 7th Battalion RTR. That's true until the day. This day, they actually traded some tanks, they swapped some tanks, they wanted a more balanced force. This is what they actually had on that particular day. So that was the easy part. The part that got a little weird was whether or not this element of 6th Durham Light Infantry was really there or not. They were definitely there on the battlefield, but whether or not they're within our green rectangle, again, this is part of a much larger battle, is a little bit more dicey. I went ahead and threw them in there to kind of give the British more of a chance, because not only do you get a company of motorized infantry, 76 millimeter mortars, machine guns, command posts, flak against the German Stukas that are coming, and a little bit of extra anti-tank guns, but you also get a battery of World War I era 18-pounders, the Mark IVs 18-pounders, which most of the BEF was still using at the time. The famous British 25-pounder was technically designed, and they were producing it, but most regiments did not have it in 1940. That's going to come along a lot later in the war, like early 41, 42.
And you don't send the prototypes over to help the French?
No, in fact, if anything, the British were starting to pull stuff out of France already, especially their air power. Because they kind of already saw the writing on the wall. They're like, this battle's pretty much over. In fact, by 21 May 1940, if I remember that article series we did on Dunkirk, that order may have already gone out, and Admiral Ramsey may already be making preparations to start evacuating troops. I'll have to check that, when exactly that order went out. I know the evacuation doesn't start until like 27 May, but I think they started preparations for it about a week beforehand. So by this point of the war, yeah, the British have already seen the writing on the wall. They're not sending too much more in there, with exceptions. Anyway, here are the Germans. They don't get all this at once. So Arras, if you wanted to summarize its character as far as how it unfolded as a battle, what we're looking at is Rommel getting surprised in a big way on his right wing. He jumps out of his half-track. He says, holy crap, what do I have immediately on hand? I don't have the forces that I need to defeat this British attack, but what do I have immediately available to slow them down until the right tools show up? and he puts out a desperate call for Luftwaffe air support, they're going to show up in the game, but not till a lot later. And same with a very, very small piece of 25th Panzer Regiment. This is like 1/8 of 25th Panzer Regiment, but they're not going to show up until like turn 5, because they're fighting through those French tanks further to the west and everything else. But really what the German player has to work with are these pitiful 37mm anti-tank guns that I'm sure are going to put some very, very handsome and impressive scratches on the front of those Matildas. That's about all they're going to do. And then there's everything else that the Germans had, and this is pretty much just leftover scraps. We have some very light anti-aircraft batteries and vehicles that were there. These are actual units that were there. We have that pretty much confirmed. We have 2 batteries of 105s. Not made for taking out tanks, but again, you have to use what you have on hand. The larger FAMO type half-tracks that tow them around, and a few scraps of 2nd Battalion 7th Motorized Rifle Regiment. Not very much. We do have Rommel himself on the table. CP headquarters and his special SDKFZ 251. That's the basic Hanomag half-track. Very, very rare in the German army at this part of the war. Divisional commanders had them, because they're divisional commanders and rank has its privileges. And they get added on with different radio antenna and so on and so forth. The star of the show, and the reason Arras is kind of famous, are these 2 batteries. These are technically not German army troops. These are German Air Force troops, Luftwaffe troops. And they command 2 sections that make up 2nd Battery of the 23 Heavy Flak Regiment. These, of course, are the famous 88s. Now, people who play Panzerleader and people who play Panzerblitz are going to look at my 88s, and they're going to say, Oriskany, I think you made a mistake. That's supposed to say 20 A20. And that's true. That's the PAC 43 L71 88mm. These are the 1936 Flak 36 L56 88mm. So these have a shorter range. Not shorter range, I'm sorry, a smaller attack value. They have a shorter barrel, the muzzle velocity is not as high. This is the reason why in almost any war game that you pick up, any war game worth a damn that you pick up, you'll see the Tiger 1 with an 88mm has X anti-tank value, and then the Tiger 2, also with an 88mm, somehow has X times 1.5 for a anti-tank value. And again, the same caliber gun, but the barrel is longer. And that doesn't sound like a big deal, but that means more muzzle velocity, faster shell, and EK equals 1/2 mass times velocity squared. It's how fast the shell is moving when it hits armored plate that determines how much penetration it gets. It's all about muzzle velocity. And muzzle velocity, a big part of muzzle velocity is the length of the barrel. So that's the reason for that. This isn't my idea. This comes out as far back as Brian Train in his in his Desert Leader 2000 series. Yeah, so lots of people have kind of come to the same conclusion as far as L56 88s get reduced to a 15. Just in case there are any Panzer Leader fans watching this later on YouTube, they'll be like, that value's not right. Actually, it is, and we made that change on purpose. Okay, so those are the forces. I sort of set up the board here, not knowing which player was going to play which force. I've been talking to Rasmus right before the stream going. He has elected to play the British. So we are continuing our Sitrep tradition of Oriskany always playing the bad guys. But that's fine. I don't mind. And I don't mind having 88s in my force. So, thank you, Rasmus. But in all seriousness, yeah, here are the British. They're set up. The Germans had to set up first. They had to be at least 3 hexes south of this railroad, and the British were allowed to set up anywhere on the railroad. So the Germans are going to go ahead and stick with their setup, now that I know who's playing who. We did have some very slight updates to the British setup that Rasmus wanted to do right before we started. And with that, I think I'm finally going to close my face, and we're going to go ahead and get started on the game, because the British move first. They are on the attack. So, with all that, we're ready to go. So historically, last note before we get started. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Did I zoom out too far? Oh, there we go. Alright, so as we were looking at before on our background table, historically, the British come down, they get pretty much slammed to a halt in front of this ridge. They do manage to cave in this corridor here. They take, historically, this objective hex and this objective hex. Again, I won't go back to that tab, but if you rewind the video or whatever, you'll see that the British did really well in this eastern third of the table. In fact, they went down like 3 or 4 more boards before they run into deeper elements of 7th Panzer Division and they finally get stopped. So again, as usual in an Oriskany scenario, there are 5 objective hexes on the table. If the British take at least 3, again, historically they took 2. So if historically they take, or I should say, historically they took 2. In the game, if they take any 3 objectives, in other words the majority, 3 out of 5, they win the game. They're not going to win the battle, because the game is way too realistic for that, as far as what forces the Germans have, what forces the British have, the speed of the British forces, and all that jazz. However, again, as with most historical games, there's a certain asymmetric element to it. As long as you take at least 3, the British win. You don't have to take all 5. I mention that because we do have some German and German scenarios in Belgium and Poland where the Germans have had to take all 5. This is not one of them. The British just have to take 3. Or, alternatively, the British could kill Rommel. If the British somehow manage to kill Rommel, that counts as an objective. So if you take 2 objective hexes and kill Rommel, that's still a British victory. Just for fun, because why not? Okay, so now I promise I've babbled enough. I'll go ahead and start turn 1 by starting a new tab here in my spreadsheet, and then we'll get started. Come on, Excel, do it. Alright, just to make this file a little smaller and make it easier to manipulate, I'm going to ditch the background slide. Goodbye. Save it under a new name so I don't lose my background slide. Oops. Holy crap. Hopefully that should make this this whole thing run a little bit smoother. Let me go ahead and get that out of the way. Alright, so we're on turn 1, and the British are on the attack. So, yeah, whichever units you want to move first, Rasmus. Actually, let's go by the turn sequence. Sorry. I don't think you can see anything right now, but technically you would begin with call in new artillery.
Yeah, but without any targets and without any blind artillery,
right?
That's kind of a...
Okay, so there's no call in new artillery, there's no resolve last turn's artillery. Obviously the British have no airstrikes, no direct fire, no one has a target yet. It's the smoky battlefield right before the shooting starts. No one has line of sight on anyone else. Yeah. Long story short, take your second shot. Let's go straight to movement.
Yes. If we start out in the western side.
Okay. That's the western part of your battlefield. Again, welcome to 1940. I'm so sorry about the movement rate of those A11s, but that's what they had.
Yep. So the first 2 down at 3307.
Yep.
They'll tug up along the road.
Okay.
No roads are predictable, but
oh, no worries. It's the only way those A11s are getting anywhere anyway fast. Now, the thing with these A11s, the reason I have them stacked up only 2 deep in most places, you get the road rate if there's only 2 units in the hex. So they're abysmal too. Does double to a 4 as long as they're staying on the road. Again, that's why there's only 2 units. You're allowed to have up to 3. So that gets them to there. They moved forward 4 hexes. All German forces nearby them are still under cover. Not all of them can see you, but some of them can. And, alright, cool. That will be it for that unit's movement. Let's go ahead and continue your movement phase.
Yeah, the ones above them, 2 down on the road, and then tug along the road as far as they can go.
Right, so that costs 1, because it's 1 movement point, but now they're on the road, they get the double movement rate, and that's their second movement point.
And the last one from that one, down on the road, but hang out behind them.
Right.
I know it's predictable, but...
Oh, no worries. I mean, the Germans have so few forces to fight you, this is a pretty small game. It's on a big board, but it's a small game, force-wise.
And let's see, then we got a couple of fast ones further up.
Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see better. Ooh, I zoomed in a little too much. Okay. Yeah, so you got 1 fast command tank, that's the Vickers, and you got 1 more slow Matilda, and then you got 2 of the Matilda 2s. These are the more famous Matildas, everybody. These are the Queens of the Desert that are going to be famous in about 6 months down in Egypt and Libya. But here they are.
Along with the Rommel.
Yep.
That other Matilda one,
Yep.
with the command tank, sent that in along the one that's lone on the road.
Okay, there we go.
And the command tank, it doesn't gain anything by being a command tank, does it?
No. I mean, no penalty either, but they're there. They have the same machine guns as everybody else. One thing that Panzer Leader is a little light on, I mean, I know I crow about the game all the time, is the whole commander rules. That almost any game of Panzer Leader that you see that has any kind of command rules in it, that's house rules that the person has put in there. The only reason that counter is there game mechanic wise is because those Vickers were physically present. So yeah, you have machine guns.
That one is pretty nippy.
Oh yeah, he's fast as hell.
So send him down to 3209.
Alrighty, he will make that with no problem whatsoever. He spends 1 point, 2 points. He does not get the road bonus because there's 2 tanks in the road. So 1, 2, 3, 4 to climb the ridge, and then 5. He does that with no problem whatsoever. He doesn't even go out of first gear to do that.
Yeah, I don't want to send him too far forward. Nippy could be handy later on.
I mean, there's absolutely no threat lurking in these French farm buildings. There's nothing going on here. You're fine. Don't worry about it. Said the spider didn't fly.
The Matilda 2s.
Yeah, these are the tanks that are borderline useful.
Aside from they can only shoot at hard targets.
Yep, that's British ammunition rules.
They'll move down 2 and then over 2, so they end up in 3108. No, they can't end up in 3108 because that's 2 to climb the ridge. So 3107.
Alright. They go up the railroads. Cool. Tearing up the tracks. Now we know why that railroad is no longer in use because Rasmus wrecked it with his Matildas. Thank you, Rasmus.
Yep.
You destroyed our railroad.
Always at your service.
There you go. Alrighty, so we have another battalion of tanks over here to the east. That's pretty much identical.
So let's start with the Matilda 2s.
Okay, Matilda 2s in front. Here they are.
They'll go straight down. 1, 2, and then up in 1404.
1, 2, 3, 4. No problem. Yeah, they're off-roading it, so they're going to go a little slower, but yep, you got it.
And then the ones in 1502, they are on the road, so they'll tug along at 4. So they'll just follow the road down. Yes.
Cool.
And the one in 1401, follow that.
There's never more than 3, or it's never more than 2 platoons on the road, so they can use the road movement right the whole way.
And the last one in 1601.
Yep.
down on the road, 1602, that's one. And then follow the road up to, send them up along the road with the railroad.
Gotcha.
And then we got a nippy little command tank that will end up in 1504.
Cool. Okay. All right. Over here, we have your elements. Like one company plus support units of 6 Durham light infantry. So there's a command unit that, his only function is to pretty much he can spot things if he wants. He does have a vehicle. If you want to move him forward, you don't have to. Right now, he's unloaded. As long as he's not hit, your morale remains at B. If he gets hit, there's a chance that your overall force reduces to a morale of C. So that's pretty much an Oriskany house rule to make command headquarters useful in some way. Again, Panzer Leader is very light on command rules. In fact, they're non-existent. But other than that, you've got a bunch of riflemen and trucks. You got a small machine gun section in truck. A 2-inch mortar's in here somewhere. Not a 2-inch mortar. I'm sorry, a 3-inch mortar. And anti-tank battery.
What's the range on the mortar?
The mortar is a 3-inch mortar, unlike an 81mm mortar that most armies are using. Same attack value, but only an 8 in range. Often, they're used for laying smoke.
Yep. Smoke, can you do that blind?
I think so.
Then unload the first of them, move the truck back to 2101, and then unload the second one and that truck back to the 2101 so they don't end up
2101. Why can't I see this?
2102.
Okay, cool, no worries. Alright, so someone's going into 2102 so that the 3-inch mortar can unload here?
Yep.
Okay, cool. He's unloaded. That cost that Bren carrier half his movement, because it's a smaller than 25-pounder artillery piece, obviously. So if, just for people in the chat, oh, crap, that's the wrong kind of, oh, hold on, let me change that. I have the wrong kind of universal carriers in here. Alright, fixed. Sorry about that. Alright, everyone, we're back.
What was in the the one in 2102?
That is the 2-pounder towed anti-tank gun. QF 2-pounder. Same rules as the Matilda 2. Again, I don't know how useful they're going to be, but they were there. If nothing else, you can use them to occupy an objective X that you've taken. I mean, I don't know.
I am move it to 2102 in that case.
Okay. 2102. Yeah, that's where it was.
No. Yeah, 2202.
Oh, gotcha. No worries. Easy.
I think I got an idea for what to do with them. Not that it's gonna matter too much, but.
Alright, so now, yeah, we just have your infantry company in those trucks if they want to move anywhere.
Yeah, if you take the first truck and then move down to 1704.
That is easy to do. Now, trucks have to pay double when they're moving off roads. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, but again, with a movement rate of 14, they've got no problem.
And the big stack down to 1804.
Okay. Again, for people in the chat, I know I just said you're only allowed to have 3 units in a hex. These infantry platoons are loaded inside the trucks. When the truck is on top of the infantry unit, it's considered loaded. When the passenger unit is on top of the carrier unit, that's how you show it's unloaded. So for stacking purposes, there are only 2 units, 2 convoys of trucks in that hex. That's how we're getting away with 4 units in a hex.
And the machine guns down to the lone.
Down to the which?
To the track.
Okay.
To the truck with the lone rifle company in.
He has to go around the tree line. No vehicle is ever allowed to go through a green hex side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That does cost him more of his movement, but he can do it. Costs him 10 out of his 14.
And last but not least, the command unit.
Okay.
Actually, he'll just move down to 1802, leave his truck behind.
He technically has a movement rate of 0.
Okay.
Yeah, only because he's got like
driver
folding tables full of radios, and
yep.
you know. Also, the colonel there is very, very overweight. He doesn't like to move around a lot. He says, "Bring me my truck." All right. So to load any kind of unit that is smaller than 25 pounder, I mean the commander weighs more than 25 pounds, but that's not what it means. I'm only kidding. Oriskany, stop trying to be funny. All right. So he loads. That costs the truck half its movement. So out of 14, he now has 7 left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He can get that far.
Yeah, that seems fine. I mean,
cool.
It's not like he's gonna do any frontline fighting. It's mainly just to move him.
Yep. All right, I think that's everybody.
I think I got everybody moved aside from the artillery and the AA, which are kind of where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, the AA is that AA class is useful against ground targets too, if you want. Primarily, of course, it's anti-aircraft. He's well sighted for anti-aircraft work, and of course the artillery is sighted. The artillery cannot take missions, cannot accept fire missions when he is loaded or moving or being unloaded. So it takes at least 3 turns to properly move artillery. So yeah, if you want to leave him where he is, I would go ahead and I would agree with that. Yeah. All right, cool. So I think that completes the British turn 1. They still don't see anything.
Yes.
No German tanks is because science teacher. How is that possible? What is the point? I know the game is called Panzer Leader. You think you would have German tanks in Panzer Leader. German tanks do arrive later in the game. They're on their way. Right now they're fighting some French about 2 boards over to the west. 1 board over to the west. 1.5 boards over to the west. There's another tank battle in progress. And what few German tanks kind of managed to... I mean, the German tanks win that battle. When I say what German tanks are left, I don't mean what tanks have survived. What tanks kind of make it through that big mosh pit out to the west. They kind of wiggle through. They are going to show up here on this board in limited numbers on turn 5. So, yeah, they're on their way, to answer your question. Okay, cool. So we'll be in now German turn 2. German turn 2, call in new artillery. Do I have anybody spotted? Yes, I have a few units spotted. So I will get out a card and call in some artillery. So I do have 2 batteries of 10.5 centimeter guns that I will desperately need to do something with. Make sure they're in range of what I want to hit. Pretty much sure. Write it down super fast. Alrighty. Alright, I've got it written down and recorded. So we'll see what happens at the beginning of German turn 2. So the radio calls are being made. Now we go to German direct fire, because I had no resolve artillery from last turn. Obviously there was no turn 0. Airstrikes, German Luftwaffe has not yet arrived. They're on their way. Trust me, Rommel is on the radio right now. That is literally his turn. He's screaming into a radio. Where the hell are my airstrikes? He realizes that he he realizes that he has screwed up again, because Rommel. But I'm not going to get on that soapbox, because reasons. All right, so we'll go straight to direct fire. Direct fire, direct fire. Oh my God, am I going to have to finally do it? It's the reason we tuned into the stream, guys, so yes, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I probably should wait for those other Matildas. Where are they? I can't see them yet. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, just for fun and to kind of get the stream going, I'm going to go ahead and cook off 88mm guns. What is point blank range for an 88mm? 88 millimeters going to fire straight into those that lead part of those two Matildas. So my 15 doubles to 30 because I'm within the point blank range bracket for an 88. 30 versus 6 is 5 to 1. Or do I engage two of them? None of my other guns can reach. Dun 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 dun. $12 versus 30 is 2 to 1. Yeah, I'm going to engage both of them. Just because. So I'm going to engage both of them. That's going to be 30. Again, 15 times 2 divided by 12 is 2 to 1. Because I have plans within plans.
And if you can block off the road, you're doing well.
Oops. Wrong window, everybody. Sorry about that. Alright, cool. So here's Mr. Webcam. I can possibly kill, but I have to get really lucky. That would be nice, though. 1. Both Matildas are on fire. Holy crap, that was a super lucky roll. Guys, in Panzer Leader, the lowest roll is the better roll. I'm glad I did that on camera. That is 2 burning Matilda platoons. Right off the bat.
If we're in that one.
Oh man, hey, at least the game is now essentially successful because if nothing else, we have recreated 88s killing Matildas on the fields of Arras. So now is when I remember that I don't have British wreck counters prepared. Can I repurpose my Belgian ones? I can use these. These are my old Belgian ones. They're close enough. It's all fine. They're the right color. Yeah, those poor Matilda ones, man. They were. I'm amazed they ever made it out of the procurement office. They have thick skin for a 1940 tank, but that's about it. If you Google an image, look, anybody in the chat, hey Skoback, how you doing, sir? Yeah, Google A11 Matilda 1. You'll see what these things look like. You'll have a nice chuckle. And then you will feel sorry for Rasmus, because that is literally 2/3 of his tank force. Again, welcome to early war. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so that is it for German fire phase, because nothing else is really in range, or I have line of sight on it. These guys can see you, but they're way out of range. These are my poor little 37mm door knockers. There's no way they can reach. These guys can reach you, they can't see you, because the woods is in the way. So I sort of have two different problems there.
And even better, you have just blocked the road for movement.
Well, yeah, you can still move the hex, you just don't get the road bonus.
Yeah.
Because there's two stack units in there. That's an old Arab-Israeli war rule, by the way, for anybody who checks this out later. Again, I know I've said this a million times. I'm going to say it 1,000,001 super fast. Panzer Leader, Panzer Blitz, some of the best command tactical level war games ever produced. However, they are also some of the first command tactical war games ever produced, i.e. they are very flawed in a lot of ways. They updated this rule set through various editions. Arab-Israeli Wars is the sort of cleaned up version. Most people who play Panzer Leader, Panzer Blitz today, and there is a small but fierce community that still does, tends to play Arab-Israeli War rules engine, sort of retrofitted to a World War II setting. They pretty much use the Arab-Israeli War rules to play Panzer Leader scenarios. That's where you get the best scenarios, Panzer Leader, and the best rules, Arab-Israeli Wars, into your best games. Nothing else is within range or can see, because German range is abysmal, except for those 88s.
Everything on this boat is abysmal, aside from those 88s.
88s, and our artillery batteries are not bad. Mine are better than yours, but...
First World War, yay.
Yeah, pretty much. 18 millimeters. Alright, I'm sorry, 18 pounders. So British artillery in 1940 is really bizarre. Super fast for people in the chat. You got the 18 pounders, which now have the new updated Mark IV chassis or whatever. That's what you've got on this table. That's most of the British artillery in 1940. Some of the 18 pounders had been modified. They took the original barrel sleeves out, they put in new breeches, and they put in a new barrel sleeve, and what they basically turned it into was a sort of a bastardized 25 pounder. They updated some of their old 18 pounder stuff where it could fire 25 pounder ammunition. And I have pieces for that. Then later on in 1941, early part of 42, you have the straight-out classic 25-pounder, built for that by the factory, full 25-pounder rate of fire that has the best rate of fire, and those things see action well into the 1960s. Arab-Israeli wars, both sides were using those things. They're a great piece of artillery. They're just not quite on the battlefield yet. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for German direct fire. German movement. Rommel, what are you doing? How brave does he stay? You know what? I'm just going to be kind of silly. Nah. He's going to load up in his half-track. He says, I hear guns. I want to see what's going on. And he, just because I like role-playing Rommel at this point, he goes down into those farmhouses. He wants to see burning Matildas. Actually, no, because you're about to call in artillery on that Hex. He's not going to be that stupid. He's going to come up here because he wants to see what's going on. Now he has something of a line of sight. Okay. Kind of a pointless move, but again, I'm almost role-playing Rommel at this point. Everyone else is going to pretty much stay. This rifle platoon is going to move forward. This truck is going to move south. In case I have to pick up those 35s and move them. Okay, that will be it for my movement. Again, I'm on defense, so there's not a lot of movement. That'll be it for turn 1. Thanks very much for joining us, Skobek. I'm glad you can make it out. I'm not sure when it's going out, but our new Season 5 premiere for Sitrep Podcast is in the can. That's going to be up to G when it goes out. And, yeah, so long story short, take your third shot of the day. The summer break is officially over. So, hence, here we are.
I know I should have taken the beer stein that you kind enough sent me, and I filled it up with beer, but it might be a bit too early in the day.
Yeah. Please start drinking. I mean, the Germans want to win, so the more beer that the British player drinks, the better off I'll be. Okay, so in all seriousness, British turn 2. Okay, British turn 2 begins with resolve last turn's. Call in new artillery. You do have 1 unit spotted.
Yep, so I will call in some artillery.
Okay.
Get 2 guesses on.
Now, in a real game, obviously you would not tell me that. You would say, okay, I've written down my artillery. You call in, you write down the hex number, which me being a non-cheesy player, I would not cover up the hex number. And you would say, I'm calling in some artillery.
Yep.
And I wouldn't know that, or I certainly wouldn't know where. So.
Well, you would know that only 1 unit been spotted.
Yeah, that's also true. It wouldn't be too hard for me to figure it out. Cool. So that will be that. And, alright, so then no airstrikes. We owe to direct fire if you have any. I don't think anything is close enough.
No.
Okay, so then we would go back to movement.
Yes, so if we start down behind the burning wrecks.
Yep.
The 2 on the road.
Yep.
1 up. They'll go to 3009.
Cool. 1/2, 1.5. Boy, those are some brave guys right there. They just saw those muzzle flashes. And 10 tanks are now on fire. Again, each thing is, it's usually a troop of 4, so let's call it 8. 8 tanks are now on fire. And they're literally just in an open field driving straight toward those 88s. Oh, man. Okay. Let's see what happens. The commander's assuring them, there's artillery on the way, guys. Trust me.
Yep.
If you don't, it's actually, I mean, I'm kind of having fun here, but in all seriousness, that's not a bad move, because if you give those 88s too much respite, they will load up in those half-tracks, and they'll be gone. They'll displace, and then you have to go find them all over again. And when I say find 88s, that means more burning British tanks. So, yeah. In all seriousness.
And the ones behind them.
Yep.
One more. No, we want to keep them together. You want opportunity firing on the first ones. We'll take the Wiggers first. Let's take advantage of him being nippy.
Okay.
Wait with those and
go ahead.
Take the command Wiggers. And he'll dash straight to 2911.
Ooh. Yeah, I take that back. He's really brave. He leads from the front, boys. Now the 88 crew is like, oh god, it's just too perfect. Do I take a 15-1 shot on those Vickers? He says no. He's gonna save his fire for more of those A11s.
And the ones behind will go 2 forward. They'll be on the road.
That's technically one. Yep.
And then go up to 3008. That's
cool.
2.
You've got your Matilda 2s back here on the train tracks.
Yep, and they'll go. I might just have blocked myself out. If they go.
You can put one more tank in 3110. You can always put one tank in 3110.
Yep.
Or they can flank further. 3007 is a ground level hex. 2 into 2908, and then they have a 4th movement point. They can either go into 2807, 2808, or 2909. These are just options.
No, they'll follow the railroad track up and to 2805, and then they end up in 2706.
Okay, railroads actually count as roads, believe it or not. So 1, 2, 3, and then they're kind of stuck because these take 2 movement points. Alright, so either way, they kind of end up in the same place. Okay, Rommel saw. Well, actually, no, Rommel didn't see that. Rommel might be getting ready to move the hell out of there. I don't see those Matildas, but I see a big dust cloud coming up from behind that ridge. He's starting to get nervous. I know he's Rommel,
but still.
Yeah, right. Rommel versus Matildas. No, not by himself. Give Rommel,
roll out the Luca.
Yeah, give Rommel a battalion of Mark IVs, and maybe we'll talk. But okay, so I think that takes care of movement over there, and then over here to 4th Battalion RTR.
Yep. If you move up a.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Let's start with 1402. They'll just follow the road.
So they wind up in 1003?
Yes.
1003? Okay. One company detached to go around the flank. Cool. Those flak guns, I'm in range, I see you, but AA guns are halved against armored targets at ranges greater than 2, so they're at the perfect distance right now. Or you're at the perfect distance. They're just out of range where I can actually do something meaningful. So right now I'm only 2 versus 6, that's 1 to 3, I will not take that shot.
And then the Matilda 2s.
Yep.
They'll go 1405, 1306.
Okay. I am in woods, so you can't overrun me. Cool. Alright, so are they stopping there, or?
No, actually take them down to 1307. Since you're in woods, yeah.
When they're in 1306, I will take, just to get a, probably not a good idea, but point blank range, also this will make them spotted. Assuming you get somebody else down there. So my advice to you is to get somebody south of this line, like with your next movement. So that when this 37mm fires into this Matilda, regardless of the effect, you're going to see the 37mm and be able to do something about it next turn. I.e.
Yes.
artillery, who knows what. So I'm point blank range, Again, the thing only has a range of 2, but 1 hex is point blank, so it's 10 versus 8. That's still only 1 to 1. I cannot kill him. Let's see if I can pin down some Matildas. A 5. I do not pin him down. That's a whiff. So there's a little bit of gunfire there. It splashes out here into these hexes. That Matilda says, huh? Hey, I found some more German anti-tank guns over here. So he is now spotted. You know what? Just to keep track of this, let me do the right thing. Because spotting units is going to be really important for the British player in this game. He is spotted, and that was opportunity fire. So when my fire phase comes around, everybody, that 37mm battery will not get to shoot. Because he took opportunity fire, and Panzer Leader is you're borrowing against your next fire phase. So you basically take your turn a little early. Works a little differently than reaction fire in other game systems, but again, other game systems are usually... Well, we already know he's spotted because there's an adjacent unit, but anyway, no worries.
And then the guys on the road will... what do you have in there? That's a normal anti-tank gun.
Do you need me to move the map around?
No.
Okay.
The first unit on the road will go to 1707.
He does that easily? That's only 1 movement point? That's weird when an A11 is not moving at full speed. Okay. But ironically, he now has, well, they haven't fired yet, but you'll be able to see at least 2 German positions from his spot, because he's on top of the ridge looking right off the top of it.
And the other one on the road,
yep,
will end up in 1606. So 1 move down the road, and yep.
Yep.
And our little weakest friend. Don't have any armor on him.
Yeah, it's... Again, Google image Vickers Mark 6B. It's funny because you say Mark 6B and people think automatically King Tiger, and you find a Vickers. You're like, oh, that's not what I was looking for.
Actually, we'll just move him to 1705. He'll go in and start making chaos next round, but...
A little bit of lag there. Oh no, I'm moving the world. Hold on. 1705.
Oh yeah.
Alright, cool.
And then let's see the infantry.
Yep. Now they're fast in those trucks. They are absurdly vulnerable. Defensive 1. Okay, cool. Because science teacher says that was an evil chuckle. Well, that's what I do. I do evil chuckles. That's my 88 cosplay right there. Here come Matildas. Wait, what's that noise? That's 18-pounder artillery shells coming out of the sky. Oh no! Oh, Himmel!
If I'm stuck on the ridge, can you draw a line of sight to them then?
Oh, or if you're stuck on the ridge, hold on, let me get my little tool here.
On the other side of the ridge. I mean,
back over to the west, you mean?
No, if I drive up on the ridge for instance 1805.
Oh, no, 1805, you're on the back side of the ridge. You're fine.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's
Yeah, the rules for, now, Panzer Leader, like formal Panzer Leader tables, they have like these lines drawn along hex sides that make it a lot more clear. So it's a good question. I don't have those lines here. But the long and short of it is, yeah, you're on the back side of that ridge.
Oh, yeah.
And as long as there's at least 1 elevation hex between you and the low ground cannot see you, and vice versa. Because it's like you're on the other side of the ridge, you can't see over, you know. Now, if you move to 1806, yeah, we see each other.
Then you're on top, the trucks are on top of the hill and get blown to bits, so...
Yeah. Like those 10.5s, they can see those Matildas.
Oh, yeah.
Barely. They barely scrap by the edge of that thing. But strangely, they haven't fired.
Maybe because they called in artillery.
Yeah, maybe because they have other orders. Now, here, there is technically an elevation hex between us, so these two cannot see each other yet.
And the other unit of infantry, they'll just go to 1404.
Oh no. Oh, yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Because, trucks have to pay extra for climbing slopes. Same with the machine gun platoon?
Same with the machine gun platoon, yeah.
No worries. Alright, everyone's in that hex.
At which point do I give the mortar a smoke order?
In the call-in artillery phase, if you want to do it indirectly. If the mortar team can see the hex that he wants to put smoke into, he can just do it in regular direct fire. If he can't see it, he can do it indirectly, but then you have to call it in and turn in advance. So if you want, because I think we forgot about it, if you want to go back now and say you're calling in smoke to any unit that you could see at the time, you would just write down that hex number. Well, as long as it's within,
I was asking whether you could do it blind.
Blind artillery is totally an Oriskany whatchamacallit rule. So yeah, fuck it, go for it. So as long as it's within 8 hexes, he can see it on his map. And he has a grid reference and he just calls in smoke. He can't kill units with it, which is why it's allowed blind. Just either make a note or write down like whatever hex number you want to call it in at, as long as it's within 8 hexes of his position. Because that little mortar only throws shells so far.
Yep. And the last bit of movement I have is the 2-pounder anti-tank.
Okay.
They'll go into the building hex.
Little train station there.
Cool.
Yep. Okay, so if you wanted to call in smoke for next round, just make a note of that hex. Again, we're going to go back a little bit in the turn sequence, that's fine. And then, did this headquarters unit want to go anywhere, or unload, or...?
Move him down to 1704.
Get down there with your men! Cool.
And might as well get him where he can actually start to move fast.
Right.
Not that he can do anything.
Well, yeah, he's literally just there to not get hit. Again, because that causes a possible morale penalty. And as far as game mechanics go, he can spot things and call in artillery.
Yes.
But yeah, headquarters units don't do very much in Panzer Leader. The only reason they do anything is because of house rules. Again, Panzer Leader doesn't have the best command rules in the world. But no game is perfect. I talk enough trash about other people's games, I can talk trash about my own game too. Not that Panzer Leader's mine, but it's definitely one of my favorites. Okay, so I think that's it for movement. We will...
Don't have anything with direct fire?
Well, yeah, that was before. So we did direct fire, there was nothing. We did vehicles. There was no opportunity fire, no overruns. There's no ready for close assault. That's going to be it for British turn 2. What is going on with my Excel here? Oh my god, I got too many windows open. Let me close some of these out. Okay, so German turn 2. Oh boy. I want to kill some Matildas, some real Matildas, but they won't pop their heads up over that ridge. Okay, that's fine. Alright, so we're going to start off with the German artillery phase. German artillery phase, again, This is written in the rules specifically and on purpose. The purpose of the Pains leader is to be a pain in the ass. And, no, I'm just kidding. But to provide a realistic command experience, at least academically. Their idea is you have to call in new artillery before you see how your old artillery worked out. So you're always playing at least 3 turns at once when you have indirect fire artillery. So I'm calling in my turn 3 artillery now. Okay, and then I am going to, if I can find out a way to display it here without revealing my new artillery. Let me see how that looks. Alright, so yeah, my old artillery for turn 2, my turn 3 artillery is still covered, because Rasmus doesn't know that yet, but my old artillery landed for turn 2 on hex 3110. That was both batteries of my 10.5 centimeter guns. Boom! Someone saw that. By the way, by strict Pains leader rules, you are not allowed to cancel an artillery mission because somebody else moved in your line of sight. I can't suddenly say, oh, there are A11s up on that ridge. Don't fire those guns. If you wrote down the mission, you have to go ahead and carry it out, because those guys are going to follow their orders. They are in the military. So, he saw that. That battery of 10.5 centimeters is now spotted. Because they fired out of that woods hex. Alright, so both of those batteries of 10.5s, there's one here, there's another one way over here, but their range is absurd at 32 hexes. They land here where in 3110, where I thought there was going to be some dispersed A11s. So these poor guys, with surviving crew members, managed to bail out of those tanks, are now getting hammered by German artillery fire. Long story short, take your 4th shot of the day. German artillery fire is wasted, landing on dead tanks. But hey, such is Panzer leader. Okay, so I've now resolved last turn's artillery. We now go to airstrikes, not available yet. We now go to direct fire, 88s. I have more A11s in the open. I'm not going to get that lucky again. So I'm just going to engage one of them at 5-1. That becomes 4-1 because there is no 5-1 table in Panzer leader. So pretty much anything but a 6. That is another 1. I should have engaged both of them. Oh, I should have engaged both of them. That would have been epic. But that's another wrecked platoon of A11s. Actually, I really just screwed up. I should have called into... what the hell. No worries. Alright. And that's that. Cool. So now we're going to go to... any other direct fire do I have? They actually can't see each other yet. These guys are just too far away to make a meaningful difference. They could fire now, but it would be a waste. It's definitely not worth giving away my position. These guys can't see you yet because the line of sight would clip through that elevation hex there. These guys have already fired and missed. So these guys can't see anything yet. Ooh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can't. Yeah, the intervening terrain is closer to the elevated hex than to me, so I can see this hex to that hex. I wish I had noticed that earlier. I would have combined that 10 with that 15, because they are still within 5 hexes. They still double. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would have been 30. That would have been 40 to 8. I could have killed them. Oh, I totally screwed that up. That's a legit gaming mistake right there. Now it's going to be 30 versus 8, 3-1.
Well, as you've been rolling, it shouldn't really matter.
Yeah, I will totally change my dice. I gotta kill at least one platoon of 812s with 88s just to be historically cool. So I'm gonna try it. So that is 15 versus 8, 30 versus 8, That comes out to a sloppy 3-1. I'm going to go ahead and reveal my position. Classic Battle of Arras, shooting at Matildas in the open. Do it! A 3, that is a kill. Barely. And he is now spotted.
Too many targets now.
Yeah, now your artillery's got like... He was sitting there by the radio going, is anyone going to call us? And all of a sudden there's like 15 guys on the radio. For God's sake! Send us in some artillery!
Target-rich environment.
Alright, and that is it for German direct fire. German movement. This is going to get tricky. Truck. Here. Truck. There. The 88s cannot fire because they moved. Or, I'm sorry, they cannot move because they fired. Move. Move. Still only 3 units in the hex. So sometimes you have to play a little bit of like reverse Jenga to kind of... Rommel is still loaded. Rommel backs the hell up before he gets overrun, or not overrun, but before he gets body slammed by Matildas. Okay, so it's up to you if you want those Matildas or even this A11 to shoot opportunity fire against these infantry platoons that are about to close assault your Vickers. I don't know if I recommend well, I don't know. It's up to you. The usual opportunity fire considerations apply. Anything that you fire now, you will not be able to fire during your turn, and you will not be able to move those units.
Well, we'll concentrate on one of them coming in.
Okay, so both of those units are going to fire?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you got a grand total of 4 versus 8. That's 1 to 2 odds. Take your shot roll as low as you can.
A 2.
A 2 is dispersed. So they are kind of pinned down. Now I only have 1 rifle platoon attacking 1 Vickers. So it's 1 to 1. I get to subtract 2 from the die roll because it's a close assault. And that is a 5 minus 2 is a 3. That Vickers is dispersed, but not destroyed. That opportunity fire actually probably saved that Vickers' life.
Yep.
Because that otherwise it would have been 2 to 1. Subtract 2 from the roll. Yeah, that would have been bad. Okay, and that's going to wrap things up for. Let me clean up this whole area here for a minute. No additional movement. I'm just trying to straighten things out. Any day, machine. Come on. Help me out here.
That's Rommel. Of course he has to be difficult.
Yeah. Okay, other movement. I don't want to do this, but I won't respect myself in the morning. Rifles. Move down there, and then close assault those that pile of trucks there in the open. There's no opportunity fire allowed because those guys are all in the trucks. So it's 2 versus the 2 trucks. That's 1 plus 1 against my 2. So it's 1 to 1 odds. Subtract 2 from the die roll.
Yep.
They got a little too close.
I knew that might have been coming, but...
That is a 1. That is all 4 units destroyed. Oh no! And that is just for fun. Put a little wreck counter. I mean, it's not a wreck counter, but a little grave marker, so to speak. Yep.
Yep.
Alright, now that... Well, the close assaults complete the turn no matter what. So that is going to be the end of the German turn. I'll go ahead and copy the board over for turn 3.
Yes.
And we'll get started. Which I already know how some of it's going to turn out. Not happy about that. Okay. Yeah, attack is hard in Panzer Leader. I almost always say, you know, like the new last game where you were playing the French, that was more of a media engagement. But yeah, like I was saying to Yavasa with the Poles and LSR with Belgians and French, you know, always give the new player defense because attacking is there's a lot to balance. There's a lot to keep in mind. This game
Yep.
is nice and small, so I'm not that worried about it. Okay, so beginning turn 3, call in new artillery. So you know where your current artillery is going to land at. I'm going to pretend I don't know. But then we say, okay, now you
There's
call
also
in...
some smoke coming in.
Okay, perfect. That I have no idea where it's coming in at. All right, so now you call in your new artillery, your smoke. You write it down somewhere, or you make a note of it. Your smoke and your 18-pounders. Your 18-pounders have pretty good range. They can hit out to 24 hexes, which is not the entire board, but a really good piece of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yep, those other 88s are in range. This is why I wanted to give the British at least some artillery. It's historically unclear, so I decided to err on the side of the British as far as whether or not there was any... You can also see where I was considering giving them a second battery, and I'm like, I'm already being a little generous giving them one battery, but... It's up to Rasmus, and then Rasmus, just let me know when you're done calling in your artillery and your smoke for turn 4. Novus Templar enters the theater with a large bucket of popcorn, or an extra large bucket of popcorn, supersized Slurpee, some nachos with peppers. Enter the theater disturbing the generals or causing a screen. No worries at all, sir. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad you could come by. As you probably saw on Tabletop or Discord, we are doing the Battle of Arras, 21 May 1940. Alright, so Rasmus is calling in his new artillery. That's calling in on turn 3. Will impact on turn 4. When he's done with that, we'll resolve his artillery he called in on turn 2 that impacts now at the beginning of turn 3. So yes, like I said a million times, in Panzer Leader, right now on the table, we technically have turns 2, 3, and 4 all on the table at once. Because that's why I love this game. Alright, so, yeah, if your artillery's ready, let me know where your artillery landed on turn, for this turn's artillery.
Let's see, it's 2810.
2810 comes the battery of 18-pounders. Oh no. Okay, so here's how artillery works. Again, just for people in the chat who might not know, we have an audience in chat, also people watch later on YouTube. We are using Arab-Israeli War artillery rules, because Panzer Leader artillery rules is one of the things that I don't like about this game. It's my favorite game, but it's not perfect. You use Arab-Israeli War artillery rules, it's a lot better. Here's the Arab-Israeli War artillery rules. So yeah, these numbers are a lot lower than you think they would be, but they affect everything in the hex. It literally fixes... The artillery rules as published in Panzer Leader are literally inside out. In Panzer Leader, this would have an artillery value of 28, not 7. And the reason it has such a high number is because the artillery rules in Panzer Leader say, yes, we know the artillery rules are super high. The artillery values are super high, but that's because you divide it amongst all the units in the hex. So if you have 4 units in a hex, in published Panzer Leader, you're allowed to have 4 units in a hex. The artillery lands, and then you divide it. You put 7 on this unit, 7 on those trucks, 7 on those trucks, 7 on the 88s, or whatever, you know. So the encouraged behavior to defend yourself against mass artillery area effect weapons is to group as many units as possible into the smallest possible space. Raise your hand if that makes any goddamn sense. Yeah, the Panzer Leader artillery rules are broken. So what they do instead in Arab-Israeli Wars is they say, we're going to cut all the artillery values by a third or a quarter, depending on how you like to, change the rules. And then it affects everything in the hex equally. So now the best thing to do against artillery fire is to spread out, which makes a lot more sense. So, obviously we're using Arab-Israeli War rules. That 7 affects everything in that hex equally and individually. So it's going to have very, very different effects on the different units, because there are more than one unit in the hex, and there's different things going on. So first of all, it is going to be 7-1 against those 88s. I think those 88s are toast. I do get a +1 because I'm in wooden buildings. So let's go to the 7-1 table. Here's where Rasmus gets a little bit of revenge, most likely. Never mind, most likely. He gets it no matter what. He doesn't even have to pick up a piece of plastic. Even if he rolls a 6, which is the worst roll in the game, add 1 to the result from my town, he still acts as a kill. So without even picking up a piece of dice, without even picking up a piece of plastic, Panzer Leader can get very chessy at times. The queen never has to roll to kill a pawn, or whatever. Well, his queen just landed on my pawn. 88s are glass cannons. They are 7-ton pieces of unarmored metal just hanging out there in the middle of an open field. They have a terrible... Now notice, I know I've probably gone over this before, notice the much smaller 37mm gun with all the same properties has a defense factor of 3. The 88 has a defense factor of 1. Dear God, why? This thing weighs about 600 pounds. This thing weighs about 7 tons. Exactly. That's why it has a lower number. You cannot hide this. So Panzer Leader, your defense factor has as much to do with your armor plating as it has to do with how easy it is your unit to hide. The smaller the unit, the better physically, the physical piece of artillery, the higher defense factor it gets. 88 homes, you're not hiding an 88, especially after it's fired. So it's the one bad thing about 88s. So without even picking up a piece of plastic, that thing is deader than fried chicken.
And especially the anti-aircraft ones, which build higher,
yes,
even than
the
later ones.
There's the oh, absolutely, yeah. You see pictures of them. They're picked up way up high on the ground. Now the Pak 43s, which I have seen in person. There's one of them at the overlooking Omaha Beach. They are the usual anti-tank guns. They have a gun shield. They're lower to the ground. I would still be hard pressed to give them anything higher than a 2 for defense because they're still really huge.
But a 2 is still better than that 1.
Yeah, I remember I was standing at the breech of that thing, and I went to walk to the muzzle brake of that L71 gun, and by the time I got to the front of that gun, I felt like I needed lunch because I'd been walking for about an hour. That thing was long. I was like, where's the front of this cannon? Holy crap. Yeah, those L71 guns are very, very long. Okay, now that 7-point artillery strike is also landing on 2 German infantry platoons. It's not going to do very much against this one that's in good order, because it's 1-2 odds. You always round in favor of the defender, so as bad as it sounds, 7 versus 8 is 1-2, not 1-1. And you have to add 1 to the die roll to disperse them. So now we're going to go ahead and roll a dice against that 1-2 against that good order rifle platoon.
3.
3 becomes a 4. That's no effect on the 1-2 roll. Against this guy, you would divide. I'm sorry, you don't divide anything. It's still 1-2. However, you subtract 1 from the die roll because he's dispersed. Add 1 back to the die roll for his buildings. Basically, it's no modifier. And a double D will kill him, but I don't think you can get a double D.
2.
A 2 is just a regular dispersal on the 1-2 table. In fact, you know what? Let me make things a little easier here. So you don't have to trust me when I say this, because I do make mistakes sometimes. But after 25 years, I pretty much have this table memorized. But I'll bring a copy of that over here so we don't have to constantly scroll back and forth. But the important part is done. He knocked out those 88s. I only have 2 batteries of those 88s, and now 1 of them is gone. So half my 88s are now destroyed. Everybody in 7th Battalion RTR just breathed a little bit sigh of relief. God knows it cost them plenty. But there are wrecked 88s in those those French farmhouses. Technically, that battery is no longer there. Okay.
And then
your smoke screen.
1808.
1808 is your smoke screen. I have a counter for that. It is SSC, smoke shell concentration. because Panzer Leader can never be simple. They can't just call it smoke. 1808, you said?
Yes.
Alright.
I might just have screwed myself over with that, but...
Oh, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's Panzer Leader. I've done that myself 100 times. I just got line of sight on somebody, and then I blinded myself.
Yep.
No worries. Alright, cool. So, his artillery is resolved. He called it next turn's artillery. He has no airstrikes. We go to direct fire. The only direct fire he will not get are... Well, they're pinned down anyway, but this guy took opportunity fire, and this guy took opportunity fire to break up that counterattack out of those French farm buildings.
And I think that's all I have direct fire-wise.
At the moment, nobody else has line of sight on anything. Yeah. Or if they have line of sight on them, the Germans are still hidden, or you're just out of range.
Yep.
Yeah, this is again, I have the actual historical forces, and I have these are 150 meter hexes. This map is the right size. The force density here is very, very small. And that's when you get images like we saw in the title screen for this stream, where there's a little German 37mm crew, and you can barely see the Matildas. They're like dots. This was a wide open battle. And sometimes that doesn't really come home until you build a true scale war game and try to play it out yourself. You're like, holy crap, no wonder this happened, because now you've done it yourself, vicariously speaking. Okay, so then we'll go straight to movement.
In the big scheme of things, when is...
I super apologize. Technically, part of your fire phase is to try and rally this unit.
Okay, that's in the fire phase.
Yeah, technically, yeah, rallies are sort of your direct fire phase. That's not really how Average Really War puts it, but that's effectively how it works out. Yes.
And if they rally, can they close assault afterwards?
No, because they're not an infantry unit. Only infantry can close assault.
No, but I'm more thinking about how I want to move, and if your guy down there rallies, so we could see that close assault replay.
It probably will replay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would either bypass that, or you don't. Damn it, dude! You don't really have the right tools for that. Yeah. Let's just keep going. This may be an imperfectly designed scenario.
But,
either that, or you know what? You know what's going to happen? On turn 3, another British battery's going to show up. They're going to bring in that artillery afterwards. After all, because if I pile those 2 infantry units in there, you're never going to dig those guys out of there. Spoilers.
A5 for the rally.
He does not rally. Again, we called both sides a B, and that's the rally check for armor. You needed for a B, you needed a 1 through a 4 for tanks. All right, either that or I'll just pull those infantry out of there. I mean, that's actually yeah, you don't have the forces. I mean, we know 7th Schützen Regiment was there, but they say elements of, and once they throw in that phrase, you have no idea how much of 7th was there. But right now, you literally don't have the units to ever dig those guys out of there. You can't overrun into a building, so I don't know, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll just allow overruns just for the stream. But again, guys, I make up these scenarios myself, so sometimes they're a little wonky. But right now, that's almost unfair to the British. Like, there's no way he's ever going to dig those 2 units out of there. Okay, so let's go over to your movement.
Yes. The Matilda 2s.
Okay.
Will go up the ridge on 2707, 2607.
Okay. And then where? Well, that's 1, 2, 3. He's got 1 movement point left.
I am to 2808.
Oh no! 2808? You mean 2608? Straight south?
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay. Did I get your movement wrong?
No,
Okay.
that actually works.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 2808's way over here.
Yeah, there.
Okay.
It's just me that can't read.
Oh, no worries. Also, the screen's probably not zoomed in enough. Oh, no. Okay, now Mr. Rommel definitely has to run away. Because, fuck that. Alrighty.
And the two Matilda ones
Yep.
will go 2909, 2808.
Oof. Alright, we're going to see a big of a difference, guys, between what that 37mm can do and what those 88s could do. Alrighty,
That should put some pressure on him.
Oh, yeah, he has to shoot now. Well, he'll shoot during his fire phase, but, yeah. And no matter what, he's going to get stomped because, he's going to get machine gunned by tanks and everything else, like right up about, he's definitely in trouble. Okay, so go ahead, finish your movement.
The other side of the battle, if we zoom in over there. It is the time for the British to play Leroy.
There we go.
That AA truck half track.
Yep.
Is that a hard target or
yes.
a tough?
It's well, I say it's a hard target. It's a hard target with a defensive 1, but technically he is armored.
It counts as a hard target, so
yeah.
Your
machine gun fire will not affect it. Yeah.
But my
your A12s, your Matilda 2s will eat it for lunch. Yes. 6-1.
So they'll move down to 804.
These are the two Matildas, A1s?
Yep.
Or Matilda 1s? Alright.
And the Matilda down below all your units.
Yep.
He'll go. If I move into 1206, is that a going up the hill or?
1206. Where the hell is 1206? No, it's wherever the dot is. So if the dot's on ground level, yeah, he's normal level. That costs 1.
And if he then continues straight up 4 along the bottom of the ridge.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
Okay, this guy's going to take opportunity fire one more time when he's point blank. And rolls a 5. That has no effect. 5 against is 1-1. Again, 10 versus 8. No effect. So again, yeah, this is what we see in Arras. This is where Panzer Leader is really doing it right. These 37mm were absolutely hopeless against Matildas. I have to roll a 1, 2, or a 3 just to disperse him, and that's if he's kind enough to move exactly next to me. I have to wait till he's basically overrunning me, roll a 1, 2, or a 3, and maybe I'll pin him down. I literally cannot kill him. Unless I hit him twice, and I get stupid lucky. I have to hit him on a 1, 2, or a 3, pin him down. Then on his turn, he has to fail to rally, and then I have to roll a 1 on the second try. So that's literally 1 and 2, followed by 2 out of 3. So now I don't even know what the odds are. It's like 1 in 20 is the combined chances for me to actually knock out a Matilda platoon with a 37mm battery. It's not going to happen. And again, that's by design. That's what we saw historically. These 37mm were just... Some of these A12 Matildas came back to their lines after the battle with, I'm not kidding, look it up, with like 50 strikes on them. 50 gouges or divots in their armor from where 37mm were just wailing on them. And they just couldn't get through the armor. And that's when Rommel had to say, holy shit, what do I have? I got some 88s, let's try that. He's often credited with inventing the tactic. That's not technically true. It was used first in Spanish Civil War, but this is the first time it was done in World War II. And it was done in adversity. After this, the Germans started doing it all the time because they're like, holy shit, this works. As we saw. But it also helps when you roll ones on dice twice in a row.
Oh, yeah. If we move down to a bit more southwest.
Okay. They're south, here southwest.
Yeah, that's more or less where I wanted it. So that's where the next things are gonna happen. There's only one infantry. The two Matildas on the road will go down into the smoke.
They get a +1 cover bonus when they're in the smoke.
And are they then able to still see your artillery?
Oh yeah, because for two reasons. Number one, I fired. Number two, you're adjacent. So he's hella spotted. My 10.5s.
So
and here's the nice thing: those are the right weapons in the right place. Those are machine guns against soft targets.
Yes, that was my thinking. And there's nobody around to close assault, or really only one unit around to close assault.
That's not enough. That would be 2 against 12. That's literally illegal. Any attack under 1 to 4 is straight out illegal in Panzer Leader. So if Rommel gets that platoon leader on the phone and says close assault those Matildas, he says, yeah, I don't think so, sir. Click.
That's why Iron Crosses grow.
No, I will show you where the Iron Crosses grow, and there's like, hell no, sir, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. And the other Matildas will move in on the road, and then 1708.
Gotcha. I'm going to move this guy off to the other side. Normally when a unit is pinned, I do that. I'm going to move him slightly this way just to remind me that he used opportunity fire. And i.e. do not shoot him again. But this guy is, I'm going to fire during my normal fire phase.
And send the Wiggers down the road to join them.
1, 2.
The infantry, if we get the first out of the infantry, what infantry I got left?
Yep.
Send the truck back to 1905, and then the second one out. So get the trucks back, get them out, and get the trucks back to 1909.
Gotcha.
Oh, 05, sorry.
Okay, I got you. And this guy can move after that. Alright, cool.
And for the other one, when the here moved out, then there's only 2 in that, so he can disembark there as well in 1805.
Yes, because there were only 2 units in there. So there were 2 units in there. The first one disembarks. There's technically 3 units in there. Then the empty truck moves out. Now there's back to only 2 units in the hex. The second truck disembarks. There's 3 units in there again. The second truck moves out. Yes, that is legal.
I think I've seen that done before.
Yep. Piotr was really good at that in Poland. He absolutely nuked like my whole German artillery park in Poland with my infantry. Don't underestimate Jawasa when he's playing. No, he was actually, ironically, he was playing Germans. I'm surprised they didn't kick him out of his own country when he did that. He blew up my Polish tanks with his German infantry like that.
And I don't think there's any more movement. Oh yeah, they disembarked the 2-pounder.
Okay. Unload.
I don't expect to do much with that 2-pounder, but
yeah. That's one of those units
nice
that it's one of those units that's like, well, what am I gonna do with it? I don't know. It was there. If you can find a use for it, Mazel tov. But
when your tanks show up, if they want to go up and bother my anti-aircraft or something like that.
Yep.
Possible.
Okay, so is that it for your movement? I believe it is.
That's it, yeah.
Okay. That will conclude the turn. We go over to German turn 2. Oh, sorry, turn 2, turn 3. Alright, German turn 3. The first thing I have to do is call in artillery. Alright, new artillery is called in. Turn 3's artillery appears at... I have that called in on hex, again, 3009. Some artillery actually does land where I kind of wanted it to. Okay, so 3009 lands here on these guys. That's why I was hoping to either pin somebody down. Turns out I got lucky and killed them. But then when you fired, you can't move because British don't have access to the split move and fire rule this early in the war. So yeah, I was hoping there would be somebody left there. Turns out there is. 2 batteries of 10.5s. Now those 13s land on there, however, they are H-class weapons against an armored target, so they only get read as 7s. So basically, those 2 13s become 1 13. H-classes only count half against armored targets, is the long and short of it. So we're going to count those 2 13s as just 1 13. It lands on the 6, that is 2-to-1 odds. You're in the open, no bonuses, no penalties. I kill on a 1. 4, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a dispersed, 6 is a miss. 4, that is a dispersed unit of Matilda 1s. And that is it for German artillery fire. Now we go to German direct fire. Yeah, it would have been really nice for these guys to be able to shoot straight into these Matildas, but again, they had other orders. So you're not, I mean, if you look it up in the rules, you're not allowed to do that. Which is unfortunate, because I'm pretty sure that's, my 10.5s are in trouble now. Okay. Alright, I'm going to start from left to right. This guy did not rally. This guy's going to give away his position. He's going to fire at 2 points. Because he is at, let me make sure of that. AA fire is normal at, yeah, half attack versus armor targets. So this German 20mm and anti-aircraft gun, this little Flak 38, whatever the hell it is going to fire into this dispersed Vickers machine gun. My 4 is reduced to a 2, so it's 1-to-1 odds. Subtract 1 from the die roll because I'm shooting at a dispersed target. So maybe I can kill him. I think a 1 kills him. Yes, a 1 will kill him. A 6, hell no, that's the opposite of a 1. Alright.
Upside down 1.
Yep. This guy is going to try to rally. If he rallies, he does not get a chance to do close assault. Because rally is his attack, so to speak. That's what he was doing during his attack phase. But nevertheless, I'm going to try and rally him. Infantry on a B is a 1, 2, or a 3. A 3, he does rally, but he does not get to participate in this imminent counterattack. German direct fire is going to fire. Oh my god! Oh shit! I might as well shoot at these Matildas, because they're a better tank, and I get the same equally crappy roll on either one. Actually, no, these Matildas are in the open. These Matildas are in the woods. I will shoot at these Matildas. 10 versus, because I'm point blank. 10 versus 6. That is still 1-to-1 odds. It's a sloppy 1-to-1. I need a 1, 2, or a 3 to pin down. 5, I missed again. these 37s. Going from 88 to a 37 is a big step down. That's for damn sure.
It's bigger than even the math seem to just suggest.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Again, so super fast, not to go off on another tangent here. People who play Panzerleader tend to look at the attack values, and I keep saying, man, fuck the attack values. Look at the ranges. That's the money. That's what makes the difference, because unlike a lot of like 15 or 28 millimeter or even 6 millimeter minis games, where you're limited by your table size and any kind of WYSIWYG rules, in a game that kind of dispenses with that and says, look, a hex is a mile if you want it to be a mile. A hex is 20 miles. Who knows? You know, it's an abstract kind of a game. Ironically, because it's abstract, you can now do ranges a lot more realistically. And that's when you see the real difference between units like this. I don't know what the hell's going on here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the attack factor looks like 5 to 15. It's triple the number. Yeah, but the range is 2 to 20. It's 10 times the difference. And when that unit doubles, yeah, it is always a fraction of the range. And when your range gets that high, that means that 15 is really a 30 out to an absurd distance, and things get ugly quick. As these guys,
as I have proved.
Yeah, can attest. Okay, so that's going to be it for German direct fire on that side of the map. Over here, those guys can't fire because they had other orders. I do have 3.7 centimeter Pat guns in 1608. 42nd Panzerjäger Abteilung are going to fire for what they're worth. I'm going to try and kill a command tank just for fun because I'm pretty sure they're dead. Here comes a great big 10 versus 2 point blank range. That is 5 to 1 odds, so 4 to 1 odds. I think anything but a 6 kills them. 4, that is a burning command tank. This guy cannot fire because he already attacked last turn. Okay, we do have a little bit of last minute fire up here. He fired, I think. Actually, no, he didn't. He fired during turn 2.
Yep.
But he has no targets, I don't think.
I've been trying to hide from him at least. I might have failed, but...
Well, you don't want to completely fail, because if nobody has line of sight on him, nobody can call in that artillery. So you have to have line of sight on him when you call in the mission and when the mission lands. Strict Panzerleader requires that to be the same unit. I don't play that way. I just say, look, as long as someone has line of fire on them to call in, or line of sight on them to call in corrections, it's fine. Because what you have to do in strict, like tournament Panzerleader, is you have to call in the firing unit, the firing hex, and the spotting unit. And that's when units have little serial numbers on there. Oh, for God's sake, enough is enough. You know, it gets out of hand. So yeah, I don't do it that way. But this guy still has line of sight on him, so I'm not saying that you did. But if you called in artillery on this unit, it will still splash correctly because someone can still see where those 88s are. That also means that those 88s can see you at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I no longer double. 15 plus 6 plus 4. 15 plus 10 is what that works out to, because they're all within 2 hexes for these two guys. AA units behave differently than A units versus armor targets. I have 4, 6, 10, and 15 is 25. 25 versus 8 is 3 to 1, barely. Do it! 3, that is dispersed. Couldn't quite kill him. Obviously, all these guys are now spotted. And that concludes my fire phase. Movement phase. Moving swiftly forward so the stream doesn't get too boring. Rommel, it's time for you to boogaloo, man. You get the hell out of there pronto. 1. He's surprisingly safe now. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now that he is there and he spent less than half of his movement, he will go ahead and unload. You just abandon your troops. Okay.
Excuse me.
Other movement. That's really about it. Everything else fired. That was probably pretty stupid. Yeah, when you're on defense, don't move if you don't have to. There's like this instinct when you're in your movement phase. It's like, oh, I have to move all my units. When you're on defense, don't. Just calm down, keep your head down, and just chill out. All right, yes, that'll be it for German movement. I have nothing to rally. I would have already done that. That's going to be it for the German turn. There's one more close assault to do. That is one of these two platoons. The other one rallied, so he does not get a chance. But the other guy is 2 versus 2, 1 to 1, -2 for close assault, -1 for dispersed unit. I might actually get him. So it's a total of -3. And a double D will kill him. So basically, a 1 through a 4 will kill that unit at this point. So a 2, that will do it.
Yeah, I expected as much, but I wanted to put some pressure on that hex.
Yeah, that's actually a rules. There's no way you're digging them out of there, which isn't fair. I'll figure something out.
I got artillery.
Yeah, artillery's never gonna dig them out of there. It's only 7 versus 8, plus you have to add 1 to the roll. You literally can't kill them. I may just say, you know what? If you want to overrun in light buildings, go for it. You basically crash through the barn and overrun them, as opposed to stone buildings. All right, cool. So that will conclude German turn 3. Because the last thing we want is a game that's screwed up or a boring stream or anything like that. I care a lot less about winning than I care about having a successful stream for our audience. Speaking of which, how are we doing? All right. Cool. All right, everybody. So we're now beginning British turn 4. Call in your artillery. That's going to land on turn 5. And then we'll execute your turn 4 artillery.
Yes. That been set up.
All right, cool. Let's go ahead and land your artillery for turn 4. What's the hex for your 18-pounders?
Yeah, you guessed it. It's the other one with the
okay.
88.
Now's when you get to roll your lucky dice. Can anybody see him? That's in good order. I don't know. Because the unit that had him spotted is now dispersed.
Yep.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and say that these Matildas can see him. I don't know if that's technically true with this intervening woods. That's closer to the elevation hex than the ground hex. But just to kind of keep the game going, this one is murderously close. It literally scrapes right by the hex side. But again, now if it's not, there's a scatter roll. So do me a favor, roll a d6. Roll as low as you can.
A1.
Okay, never mind all that cheating. You don't have to cheat. When you lose sight on a mission, it becomes a blind mission, and it has a chance to scatter. A 1 or a 2, it lands where it was supposed to. A 3, 4, 5, it scatters by 1 hex, and a 6, it dissipates into nothing. But because of that die roll, we are now able to play by the book. This Matilda platoon was the spotting unit. He got dispersed, so battalion radio is calling him, and he's like, "Oh my God, we're on fire! There's 88 shooting at us! For God's sake, calm down and give us the coordinates." He's not answering the radio because he's panicked. and dispersed and pinned down and all that nonsense. The shells come in anyway. They're a lot less accurate, but you got lucky on the die roll. That shell still lands. That is a wrecked 88. No dice required because, again, it's 7-1, even with the +1 for woods. That is toast. Now, you also have 7 becomes 4, 3.5 round up, because you're technically shooting at an armored target. So it is 4 versus 1, because that SDKFZ, that FAMO, is technically considered an armored target. I say armored in air quotes because it has a 1 in defense, but usually, except for trucks, once you see a picture of the unit on the counter, it's an armored target. That's not always true. Again, trucks are still considered soft targets, but never mind. Your
8-3.
Okay, your 7, again, for people in the chat, your 7 is reduced to a 3.5 because it's halved against armored targets, H-class weapon. 3.5 rounds up to 4. 4 versus 1 is 4-1. Add 1 to the die roll for my woods. He rolls a 3 on the 4-1 table. That becomes a 4. That is still a wrecked FAMO. He is toast. Again, artillery affects everything in the hex equally. And that is considered an armored target. So that is a German wreck counter on the map. Just for fun, I have seen some players put wreck counters on the map for destroyed German 88s. Because an 88 weighs 7 tons, and it's all metal. And it gets wrecked, it's going to make just as big of a mess in a block than a 5-ton Panzer Kampfwagen Mark I. But technically, armored vehicle hit by a destroyed creates a wreck counter. So there's 1 wreck counter in there, and then 1 soft kill in there, i.e. the 88. What the hell happened to my soft wreck? I thought I put one in there. Oh, I never moved it down there. Sorry. I created it and never moved it. There we go. Alright, cool. Alright, cool. And then you had some smoke. Oh, this smoke now goes to half power?
Yeah, I'm putting smoke on that hex again.
Okay, cool. So there's an old smoke screen that's now, has 1 turn left. The smoke screens usually last 2 turns. The new smoke screen comes in. Yeah, there's a lot of smoke in there. So 1 is straight and 1 is dissipating. No worries. Cool. That concludes British artillery phase. We now go to British direct fire. Oh no.
And let's see. Those half tracks count as hard targets.
Okay, so and you talk about in this hex, the FAMOs do, because they're technically an armored target. They're technically a half track. They have a defensive 1. The trucks do not.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I can't overrun anything over there, they might as well shoot. No, then they can't move, so.
Well, I would fire 1 of them if you wanted to take out that FAMO.
Oh, yeah, why not?
Alright, that's 12-1, even with, because again, you're double at point blank range. Even with a +1 for, whatchamacallit, for woods. Toast!
It's a lot less scary when it don't have a 88 in it.
Alright. Alright, cool.
Then so we'll hump some machine gun fire into the anti-tank gun.
Okay, cool. You've got 2 + 2. You know what? We'll give this whatchamacallit, because he has machine guns too. The Matilda 2, and he's point blank. So a total of 6 points into 3 points. That's 2-1 odds. Add 1 to the die roll for woods.
8-3.
3 becomes a 4. He is dispersed.
And I think that's it for that side of the board.
Okay.
So let's have some fun with your artillery.
Oh no! Not looking forward to this. Alright. So we got a couple of machine gun battles going on over here. This one first.
Yes.
2 and 2 is 4 versus 2. That's 2-to-1 odds.
A2.
All right, that is also dispersed. Okay, and then we have 2 plus 2 is 4 versus 3. Those 37s are a lot harder to find, so they're harder to hit. It's going to be 1-to-1. Add 1 to the die roll for Woods.
Actually, it won't be because I'll only fire 1.
Okay, so that is 2 against 3. That's 1-to-2. Add 1 to the die roll.
A1.
Oh, that's dispersed. Got the job done. All right, so the other guy can still move now.
Oh, yeah. And then we have a hard target for the guys up north.
Yeah, the problem is he's actually pinned at the moment.
That's the wrong one. Yeah, that's the wrong one.
Now the other two Matilda 2s, I'm sorry, the 2 Matilda 1s can fire their 2 machine gun points each southwest and attack that flak battery at 4-to-1.
Yep, that's the other one I had up there, so yep.
Okay, now you do have to add...
that guy got pinned.
No worries. You have to add 1 to the die roll, so he actually does survive on a 5 or a 6.
A1.
Cool, he's dead. Alright, everybody. Yeah, the British are starting to put a dent, finally. But that's how it is in a lot of attack games. Like, when you play Omaha Beach, you're going to take like 100 American platoons knocked out before you take your first German bunker. That tends to be the case in like attack versus defense games. The attacker can't get discouraged. You're going to get your teeth kicked in for the first 3 or 4 turns. But once you get up close, once you get some enemies spotted and you get some artillery or something going, yeah, the enemy's going to start to splinter and crack at that point. Okay, so I think that's it for your direct fire. Let's go to your... to finish up your direct fire, we have 2 tank platoons to rally. Your Matilda 1s need a 1 through a 4 in Hex 3009.
A6.
Does not rally. 0905, your Matilda 2s need the same number to rally.
A1.
He rallies. He was scared by those 88s, so he saw those 88s go up on a mushroom cut. He's like, yay, let's be brave again.
Yeah.
Awesome. Alright, cool. Refresh the Twitch stream because it just crashed on me for some reason. Cool.
That let me think about my movement, but...
Yep. And the only units that can't move are anyone that fired or anyone that rallied.
Are we back on the Twitch?
Oh yeah, I just had to reboot my or refresh my window. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we were never not live. I wasn't seeing it.
The command unit will drive down the road and not down the road, down the railroad track.
Okay. Heading west.
Heading west and ending up in 2305.
No problem.
Is
your commander looking for Rommel? We're gonna have a pistol duel at 20 paces.
Almost, yeah. The one Matilda that didn't shoot at the anti-tank gun.
Yep.
Will move into the smoke.
Okay.
That was why he didn't shoot.
Oh yeah, cool. Concentrate.
Yes.
No opportunity fire allowed because obviously my battery's pinned down.
And now come the one that I've been thinking about. This is the one that the infantry.
Yep.
I've been thinking about sending them south, but I think they'll just follow the road up and close assault your infantry.
Close assault my infantry. Gotcha. 1, 2. They can definitely do that. 2 versus 8, it's 1 to 4. I mean, technically I have to take a shot at it, but no, I can't, because it's literally, I would literally get no, even a 1 is a miss. So if I did take opportunity fire, it would miss, so I'm not going to take it. It is now okay, well, we'll finish your movement, and then at the end of movement, we'll do close assaults. Close assaults are technically the end of movement. But I think we're at the end of movement anyway.
Yeah, the only thing I got left is I got a Matilda 2 that didn't shoot. But...
Okay, where do you want to move him to?
He'll go 1, and then straight down after Rommel, so...
1, 2, 3, 4. Oh no!
Yep.
Shit, I think he's dead. Well, no, as long as he stays, if he stays in the woods unmounted, that Matilda can never get to him. But that Matilda might be able to call an artillery. Oh no! Call an artillery on Rommel. If I get
a command unit in here.
If I get the half track. If I get in his half track, that'll be the last thing he does, because that's half the half track's movement. The Matilda takes direct fire, 12 against 4, 3 to 1, add 1 to the die roll. You have to roll a 6 for me to escape. So, and believe it or not, that command unit does not get to move on his own. So, Rommel is either about to get captured, or he's going to have to run away and lose all of his staff, all of his radios, all of his maps. He's either way removed from the battle, so that will count as an objective X, I'm pretty sure. Unless I just get absurdly lucky on the dice, which I doubt. That's what happens when you command a Division 2 far forward, Rommel. This is what should have happened if the British were a little more Leroy Jenkins in history. But they were always kind of...
if there's one thing I'm good at, it's being Leroy Jenkins.
Panzer Leader 1940 is the time to do it, because the guns don't shoot at 20 hexes like they do in Gulf War. Gulf War, Leroy Jenkins, not recommended. But in 1940...
Well, I more or less pulled it off.
Yeah, you pulled it off because... Okay, guys, what he's talking about is we were playing 1991 Gulf War, and where obviously the units shoot much, much further and hit much, much harder. I mean, obviously. And
have much more armor.
Yeah, but again, with that kind of distance... Again, it's distance that kills in Panzer Leader. It's not really firepower. But in come Rasmus with a company of Abrams, U.S. Army company of Abrams, 2nd Armored Division. So in they come, 3 platoons of 4 plus a command variant, or a command element, a 55 and a 66 XO and CO tank. In they go. And he's in the middle now of at least 2 battalions, almost a regiment, of Iraqi T-55s, Type 59s, and even some Type 72s, or some T-72s for Republican Guard. So I'm like, alright, technically according to the rules, if I kill a single American tank unit, that's game over, because not a single American tank unit was destroyed by enemy fire in Gulf War I. Gulf War II, sadly, was a different story, but Gulf War I. So if I had put all that firepower on that command element, even a 6 would have killed him. But I was like, you know what, I don't want to kill the stream, so let me split it up a little bit, and so I took some of it as regular platoons, one of it as command radius, and then I think I rolled like 2 6s in a row, so I was like, oh, so I pinned down a whole bunch of guys, but I didn't kill anybody. But in a live game, that would have cost you the game, like, pretty much instantly. But again, that was like, you're literally, I think, the first turn of Panzer Leader you ever played. And,
it was,
yeah, you were playing...
The one thing you need to learn about Panzer Leader is the turn order, and that you don't move and shoot.
Well, yeah, some American tanks can fire and then move half. There's what they call the split move and fire rule. Neither side has it in this scenario, because it's too early in the war. But the Germans definitely get it, like by 1941. By the time the Germans go into Russia or North Africa in early 41, they definitely get the split move and fire rule. And the British, by the time you get into like El Alamein, they start to use it. The Americans use it right off the bat, and the Russians get it in like 1944. Once they put radios in all their T-34s, the T-34-85 and a 3-man turret. That's when you start getting operational mobility. Tanks can shoot. It's almost like a shoot and scoot move in Flames of War. It's a little like that. Um, but yeah, you don't move and then fire in Panzer Leader ever. You fire and then maybe you move if you're the right kind of unit in the right time period. And even then, you only move half. Um, but yeah, again, first turn of Panzer Leader ever, and talk about jumping in on the deep end. You went into the 1991 Gulf War One. You didn't start off in like native Panzer Leader like World War II.
But
you started off with
we do have a close assault to finish off my turn.
Yep, now that we're done with our tangent, and we're done with all other movement, cool. We do have a close assault, because my opportunity fire would have been useless. It is 1 to 2, subtract 2 from the die roll.
A 3.
3 becomes a 1, he is dispersed. That German counter invasion is shut down, or at least stalled. Alright, so that will complete British turn 4. German turn 4. Dun, 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 dun. And it's at 4:19 now on the clock. We've been streaming now for 2 hours and 20 minutes. We'll probably wrap up around 5.
Yes.
Just so it doesn't turn into a huge thing. Oh, one more thing I wanted to do for the British, again, just to kind of keep the stream going during their movement phase, that other battery of artillery shows up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that was half of his movement. He spends the rest of his turn to unload. And now there's 2 batteries of 18-pounders in there. Because things for the Germans are about to get thick. Their Stukas are showing up soon, and those Panzers are showing up soon. So I don't want to leave the British without some reinforcements as well. Again, even from the very beginning when I was designing the scenario last night, I was like, should I give them 2 batteries or 1? That's why that other battery was kind of lurking up there, just off the table. Once I saw that I had put 2 platoons of German infantry in that objective X, I'm like, yeah, I have to give them something to dig those guys out of there. Not that he'll probably need it, because he's probably going to kill Rommel. That's a victory hex, and he's probably going to take this objective hex at least. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, German turn 4, calling in artillery. Well, 1 battery ain't doing shit, I can tell you that. Dun, 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 dun. Oh god, what am I gonna do here? I can't see those British infantry up there, so I can't call in artillery support to help my over-aggressive.
He went in, he took out all those infantry, and thought he was Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah, for a second there he was the man. He's like, we just wiped out 2 platoons and trucks. We just killed double our number. And then all of a sudden, oh, those British guys, they had friends. Ah, here they come. Still, that 1 platoon took on the better part of a company and has pretty much neutralized it. So, that's where the Iron Crosses grow. Okay, so... Got it. Alright, so turn 5. That's the hex number. Alright, my new that's my new artillery. My old artillery is... oops, get it under camera there. So that none, that was the battery that is now dispersed. Because I was like, if he's not dispersed, I want him to fire directly into tanks. So he's basically got no orders. He was like, fire on your own. Don't wait for me to call you in grid coordinates. The other guy called in on 1708. That's this battery over here. So he called in to 1708. There's only 1 of them now, so that 13 becomes a 7.5. I'm sorry, that becomes a 6.5, so it becomes 7. 7 lands on 6. That is 1-to-1 odds. No bonuses. I need a 1, 2, or a 3 to disperse him. A 4, he missed. So the artillery splashes around that tank. Some shrapnel tinkles off the armor, but no effect. Alright, cool. So that ends German artillery phase. Not very effective. German direct fire phase. German direct fire phase. There's not much. Everything is pinned, or there's nobody there. Oh no! German force is, yeah, this is where you start reading about, I mean, it's overwritten in the history, but this is where you start reading about the panic. The German panic at Arras. It was never really panic, but this is kind of what they're talking about. I've got plenty of German units I can see, plenty of British tanks. The British tanks are right next to me, but they're all dispersed. Dispersed. I got 4 dispersed units on the table right now, so German morale is about to become critical. He's burning, so I can't do anything with him. The only thing I can really do here is maybe he's going to pull out. Because there are more hexes down here I have to defend better. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get the hell out of there. Now, he becomes eligible for opportunity fire when he spends a quarter of his movement in your continuous line of sight. I don't think I'm going to allow that to happen. Because this guy is fast, if nothing else. 1, 2... He's now screened. You can't see him through the trees.
Yep.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He'll stay there for now. Again, guys, I said at the beginning of the stream, this stream does not use Panzer Leader stream rules. We're using Panzer Blitz gully rules because this stream, historically, 4th RTR went over it like less than a speed bump. So it is not the normal terrain obstacle that you see in a Panzer Leader scenario. That's how that half truck was able to do that. Alright, that's going to be it for German. Well, obviously I'm already done with German fire. So let me go ahead and try and do some rallies. I've already started moving, which isn't right. Okay, 37mm gun over here. I need a 1, 2, or a 3 because I'm morale B. A 1. He rallies. Yay. The big 10.5 centimeter battery rolls a 4. He fails to rally. Oh, that's not good. Oh, shit. With 15 Matildas bearing down on him. Anti-tank gun. A 5. He fails as well. Oh, no. Infantry platoon up there in the north. He does succeed. We are German grenadiers. Although technically they didn't, I don't think they called them grenadiers yet, but Schützen, motorized infantry. You will not surrender to British Tommies. Okay, that's it for my attack / morale phase. Now we go to movement phase, which I've already technically started down here. So, there's not a lot. My army is very small. Yep, guess what? I was worried about how I'm going to, give up that hex. I'm giving up that hex. Because here's what's happening. We're going to close assault those Matildas and save Rommel. I'm giving up one objective hex for another, but at least now I get to save Rommel. There is no opportunity fire technically allowed, because that's a A12 Matilda with solid shotguns only. First of all, you straighten out, please. Thank you. I like a neat gaming table. Yeah, there's a rule where 2-pounder guns, again, for people in the chat, 2-pounder guns only carried single shot or solid shot. They were useless against soft targets. You had to physically hit the man with your tank cannon. The tank cannons did not explode. So there was no shrapnel, no HE, no shrapnel. The special rule is anything armed with a British 40mm / quickfire 2-pounder is useless against soft targets. So there's no opportunity fire here. We're going to do a close assault there when we come to it. But for now, let me finish up my movement. I'm not going to load him up because he'll be dead. This guy fired. Oh, do I want to move him? Yeah, I'll move him. He'll spend half his movement to load. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's actually not true. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, shit. Never mind. I won't make it. 1, 2. Again, trucks have to pay double for open road, or for open ground off-roading. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he spent half of his 12 to load, and then he has to spend 6 more movement points, and that's as far as he would get. If I do that, his Matildas are going to absolutely murder me. They can't overrun me because they're too damn slow. But he can machine gun the piss out. Actually, no, he can't. 1, 2.
I can't straight off.
He is out of range. I think I will do that. So we're in a rush for this objective hex. It's whoever gets to that objective hex first. I'm pretty sure he's going to win, but at least I make him go for it. And tie up some time. Maybe even get my 37mm another chance to do something spectacular. Although I doubt it. Yeah, things here are very chaotic. We've got Rommel about to get captured by rogue Matildas. Those Matildas are about to get, jungled from behind by 2 battalions of German Schützen. We've got AA guns hauling ass for a vacated objective hex. We've got pinned down Matildas. There's a lot going on. This is madness over here on the German left wing. Other movement. Not much. I think that's it. Yeah, my force is really small now. Alright, so that's turn 4. For the Germans, I'm just going to do that close assault now. Close assault is 4 against 8. Is a grand total of 4 against 8 is 1 to 2 odds. Subtract 2 from the die roll. Turn on Mr. Webcam. Just in case Gas is here, he'll make fun of me. Here we go. A 6! He fails! Yes. Close assault fails. Oh no, Rommel, what are you going to do now? He's going to hide in those woods is what he's going to do. As long as Rommel does not get back in his half-track, he's fine. Those Matildas literally can't hurt him. But he's totally pinned down in place. Also, he might call in some artillery on me next turn. He didn't see that hex this turn. He can't call it in on me now. But he could... let me put that way. He couldn't call it in on me on turn 4, but he can totally call it in on me on turn 5, which means it splashes on turn 6. So this question isn't quite over yet, but I have a funny feeling those Matildas are about to make some friends as well. Like I said, there's chaos over here on the German left. All right, let's keep the stream going. So I'll go ahead and copy us over. All right, we begin with turn 5. With Rasmus placing his new artillery for turn 6. He has new units spotted, I'm sorry to say. I see you, Rommel, with your stupid hat. I see you hiding in the bushes. I can't come in after you, but I can call in some artillery.
That's noted down now.
Okay, cool. Let's call in the artillery that was called in last turn.
Yeah, and it'll make a big splash about nothing.
Yeah, that happened. So it happened to me twice. Okay, so
the artillery itself were hitting the 88s again, just to make sure.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
And the mortar will actually fire.
Oh, okay. So this smoke screen dissipates.
And the other one goes.
I should have just deleted the half one, but no worries. Yeah, it's going away. But now you're firing live rounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the infantry.
Oh, that's true. You're close enough now. All right, so that is 3 versus 8. That is 1 to 3, but you never know.
A4.
Okay, no effect. So that will be that. We'll then go to what else? Direct fire.
And the first direct fire will be the 3 Matildas into your dispersed artillery.
No, 3 to 1. Subtract 1 from the die roll. Add 1 to the die roll for woods, and subtract 1 for being dispersed. However, a double D will kill me. So if I can find my stupid chart. A 3 would have killed me anyway, but actually even a 5, because again, a double D will kill it. So that is a wrecked German 10.5 centimeter battery. That's not nice. That's less than nice. All right.
And then we got the left behind Matilda into the dispersed anti-tank.
2 versus 3 is 1 to 2. No bonuses or penalties net. However, a double D will kill him. Basically, that's gonna have. Oh, are you sure you want to do it? Because you know ahead of time that's gonna do that's gonna make no difference.
Okay.
It's 2 versus 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's +1, -1 for woods and dispersed units. You can't score a double D, so I would almost rather move him.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we'll move him in instead then, since you so kindly pointed out.
No, I mean it's like literally when you've been playing the game for 20 years, I have this chart memorized. It's like an unfair advantage. Okay. Any other fire before we start your movement?
It's a.
Let me zoom out just
It's
a
a
second.
soft. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's a soft target, but why not clean it up? It
Okay.
might be able to call in artillery or some thing fun like that. On the other hand,
Okay.
can
So
trucks call in artillery?
no, our trucks cannot do that.
Okay, then forget it.
Trucks
We'll
cannot
move
call in
those
artillery
guys.
strikes. They cannot. They never count as destroyed units for victory conditions. They cannot occupy objective X's. Yeah, because people were getting really cheesy with trucks in the early days of Panzer Leader. So they rewrote the rules in Panzer Leader, and it was like, nope, trucks can carry troops, and that's freaking all, because reasons.
Yeah. So destroying that truck is certainly not a priority.
Yeah, it's fun, but yeah, it doesn't really. Yeah, I would rather move the units.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go to movement then. Alrighty. Oh, sorry. Let's see if we can rally your one platoon of A11s over here.
A2.
He rallies.
They're back in the fight.
Cool. Okay.
They still can't move or shoot, but at least they're there now.
Yep. All right, let's do movement.
Movement. The 2 Matilda ones will go down and take the objective.
Hey, that's the first objective X.
The Matilda 2.
Yep.
That's not by Rommel. Will drive down next to Rommel.
Oh no. 1.
At the. Oh, I should have done that with direct fire.
2. Which with direct fire?
Should have shot at Rommel's.
Okay, yeah, you can shoot that. You can do that now. 12 versus 4 is 3 to 1. Add 1 to the die roll.
A6.
Dispersed. Actually, no. 6 on 3 to 1. He's okay. Well, 6 becomes a 7 because of woods. He's actually okay. Yeah. Oh my God, he missed.
So it didn't matter that I didn't think about shooting it straight away. That's it for down there. Then we got the guy in the middle. He'll just truck down the road. He can drive through that one, but he'll pay 1 for it, right?
Yep. He can wind up in 1909. You're talking about the guy in 1708?
Yep.
Yeah, that costs him 1 point. His second point, he can't go into that hex. It's occupied by a German unit, but he can wind up at 1909.
Yes.
Okay.
Put some pressure on that objective.
Yep. Alrighty. And what else we got here?
We got the guys up in the top.
Oh yeah, no shit. Yeah, so let's do some movement up here, and then we'll close out with the close assault.
And those guys, well, if you move it over a bit and move the chart out of the way, they'll move straight 705s and then 605. See if I can't get on the road so they can actually move.
Yeah, a little bit faster. Okay, and then you have one platoon of Mark II Matildas up there as well.
Yep, and they'll oh. They'll move up to 604 and then down and join the Matilda ones.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, like that.
Yep.
Cool.
Safety in numbers.
Oh yeah, concentration of tanks. That's how it works.
Unless you're actually bombarding that hex, but
yeah,
I don't think that hex is your priority.
Also, I can't see it. Also, tanks are usually pretty hardy against H-class weapons.
Yep.
Especially Matildas. One thing they have going for them is they do have thick skin. That 8 is a beast. That 8 is pretty average at 1944. Actually, it's pretty poor. It's average. But at 1940, that 8 defense is like, holy crap. I need a tactical nuke to take that thing out. Or an 88. But I'm fresh out of 88s at the moment.
And then we got the close assault.
Yay! Alright, that is a 1 to 2. Subtract 2 from the die roll.
That'll become a 0.
That is still dispersed. 1 to 2. Minus 2. So 2 becomes a 0 is a dispersed unit. Yep, he's still dispersed. Yeah, these little sideshow infantry battles, you see at least one in every Panzer leader game. They tend to simmer for a while. And then usually somebody gets lucky. Like, I'll fail to rally, and then you'll counterattack me again and score like a 2, and now he's dead. Or someone calls in artillery on him. But other than that, they tend to just kind of sizzle for a while. Those are those little firefights that just keep going.
That's a called action table.
Totally, yeah. This is 100 versus 50. 100 British versus 50 Germans along a French road within,
within 300 meters of each other.
Within, actually, yeah, well, that's this whole space. So if I zoom in, yeah, where the actual battle is taking place is kind of along that hex side. Yeah. So, like, that square there is like about a 6x4 28mm table. That's totally a little mini bolt action table going on right there. Absolutely. And it's just part of a much bigger battle, which of course is in turn part of a much bigger battle, which I've zoomed out too far.
Which in turn is part of a much bigger war.
Part of a campaign, which is part of a war. Yeah, it's just many, many levels. Alright, so that's going to conclude British turn. We now begin German turn 5. German turn 5. Oh, my air power is actually a turn late. So here comes some German air power. Actually, that's not quite yet. Let me play by the rules here and do my artillery first. So 6. What do I want to land on turn 6? Alright, 2512 was where I called in. Oh, I literally just said it out loud. Fuck, it's stupid. Sorry. Yeah, that just happened. Hopefully he wasn't listening. I've called in my artillery for turn 6, is what I meant to say. Turn 5 artillery is landing on 1808. That is technically a combat unit because it's an armored target, even if he wasn't. This battery of what the hell? Hold on, guys. Oops. It's a small error in the counter. That 81mm mortar should have an M class attack vector, not an H. I'll fix that later. But anyway, that mortar battery can see into the hex in question, so the artillery does not drift. It is going to be 7s versus 6s. Add 1s for smoke, because you are technically covered a little bit by your smoke screen still. Lingering from last 2 turns. So it is 7 versus 6. It is 3 1-to-1s. I have to add 1 to the die roll, so really what I'm looking for here are 1s and 2s. No effect. That's a miss. That's a miss because of the smoke screen, and that's a miss just because. So that artillery for 2 turns in a row now did absolutely nothing. But that's okay. British tanks have, again, thick skin if nothing else. Alright, direct fire. Oh wait, not direct fire. Airstrikes. Yes, call in airstrikes. God, please. Bombing is capable, I think, at range of 1. I hope. I'm doing that right. Airstrikes. Range of 2. Yeah, it hexes 1 hex and 2 hexes around. H-class bombing airstrikes are a half attack. So cool. So I want to try, if I can, to stay out of range of those 40 millimeters. So I'm going to bomb from as far south as I can. He's going to bomb from here. All of them. As absurd as it sounds, I'm still trying to save Rommel. This is now just more of a cinematic thing than anything else. Okay. Because he's got 1 objective hex. I'm pretty sure he's going to take 2 objective hexes. If he kills Rommel, that's pretty much going to be game. So I'm trying to prevent that with whatever tools I have at my disposal. 1, 2, so there's his anti-aircraft guns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nope, they're still in range. Shit. Alright, so 8 is an AA class weapon, range of 12. You can see those Stukas coming in. I won't do the sound effect Stuka into the microphone, that would get annoying. AA weapons at that range versus aircraft. Apologize for the messy table here. Give me 2 seconds to kind of pop that out in front. Alright, so AA is the direct or opportunity fire. Technically, it's a class of opportunity fire. AA versus flying aircraft is normal. Normal at 7 plus hexes, it's half. So now it goes down because you're at extreme range.
Yep.
So 7 plus hexes, it goes down to half firepower. Okay, using the native Panzer leader aircraft or anti-aircraft table. That 8 on that whatchamacallit, that Bofors 40 millimeter mount, now becomes a 4. You basically have to roll a 1 to drive him off, and even then he still makes his attack, but he's then considered a damaged aircraft. He has to fly home. But that's just me trying to stay as far away from your 40 millimeters as possible.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So try to roll a D6 and roll as low as you can.
A1.
A1. Okay, so that guy still gets to make his attack. Aircraft damage. Aircraft may execute attack in the current airphase, but is then removed at the end of the airphase. Does not count as unit destroyed. Blah 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 blah. So he still gets to make his attack, but I now have to remove him. He doesn't get to buzz around and do all of his strafing afterwards, like the other 3 will get to do. And that's what I'm going after, is artillery with my machine guns. So I got a grand total of 40 points. Those 40 points are going to try and bomb one of those Matildas at 4-to-1 odds. Because I've got to, if I can kill one now and then disperse the other one with a cat attack, that buys him enough time to get the hell up and get the hell out of there. At least I hope. Several things have to go right in the right order here. I might be able to save Rommel here. Let's see. Oh, that is a 5. That is barely one Matilda killed. A 6 would have saved him. And that literally cost me my entire airstrike. That's supposed to be bombing British artillery right now. But Rommel's life is more important. And then this air unit has to fly away because you damaged them. Okay, the other 3 get to fly around for 4 turns and use their 1 strafing attack, which might actually be more important than you think. Because before I had 4, and 4 versus 2 is 2 to 1. I could knock out that artillery with strafing attacks. Now I only have 3. 3 versus 2 is 1 to 1, and you're in woods. So the odds of my Stukas now tearing up more of your artillery just got significantly reduced. Also, then you're really close. I might do it just to see what happens, just for fun.
That's why the AA is hanging around where the AA is hanging around.
Yeah, those, again, when you go too far forward, like those, well, I'll say they went too far forward, because they could win the game. So I'm not going to say they went too far forward, but when you go far forward, the trade-off is, yeah, you outdistance your support. Alrighty, so that's going to be it for my air phase. Direct fire. Depressingly little. As in, practically none. Yeah, like literally fucking nothing. Out of range. Got no targets. He's busy. He has no targets. He's too far away. This is a mortar strike. He could call in. He could direct bombard those guys, but it's literally not worth it. So I'd rather not give away his position. Yep, I'm going to go straight over to movement. Believe it or not, these 2 units can't see each other, so that even that 37mm can't shoot. That 37mm can't reach that platoon of Matildas out there in the open. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and go to movement. This guy was making a rush for that town, or that British farmhouse, French farmhouse. He saw 2 platoons of Matildas rumble in there. He said, oh, turn around, run away. So he's going to back up now. 1, 2, hasn't moved a quarter of his movement yet. 3, 4, he's now moved a quarter of his movement. I don't think anyone can reach him, because all machine guns only have a range of 2. So he has successfully sort of gotten away with that. And he goes pretty much right back where he started. 3, 4, and he has now spent half of his movement. He will go ahead and unload. So, much ado about nothing. He pretty much just did a big Chinese fire drill there. That's going to be a close assault in just a second. I don't want to load him. If I load him, he's dead. So, no, I will not load him.
Oh, come on.
I'll try to rally my poor German infantry up there in the north. 1, 2, or 3. 3, he does rally. Yeah, this battle's going to sizzle on for the whole freaking thing. I'm going to try to rally that 37mm battery in the center. He fails to rally with a 4. Okay, now we're going to go to close assaults. I only have 1 close assault to wrap up the turn. That's going to be, yeah, predictably this guy here.
Yep.
Okay, and that was a 1. Alright, so I don't think he's killed. 1 to 2, subtract 2 from the die roll. I did kill him. Holy shit. Yeah, that platoon is killed. Okay, Rommel was saved.
Well,
yay.
We'll see.
Well, that's also true. You have more guys that can see, because he's, yeah, can't see that hex, can see this hex, can see that hex. Yeah, you might also shell him. Oh, that's true. He might still die. Oh, no. Alright. And that's that. Oh, crap. One thing I do have to do, now that we're in turn 5, is German armor does enter the map.
Yes. I just have to water the dog. Give me 2 seconds.
No worries at all. I'm going to do the last bit of movement, and then we'll get started on your turn.
Yes. As he's harassing me for some water.
Cool. Yeah, actually, my throat's getting dry here, too. I'm going to leave off that Mark IV platoon, guys, because I don't want this game to get absurd. And that, we're almost done. These are the Czech 38s that were famously used by the Germans. Panzerkampfwagen 38Ts. T stands for Czech in German. That they stole from Czechoslovakia in 1939. They took over the country, they took over the Skoda factories, and hey, look, there's hundreds of tanks sitting here. Let's use them, because they're actually better than most of our tanks. 2 German Panzer divisions were equipped with these things almost exclusively. That is the 7th and 8th. One of them is Rommel's 7th, so that's why they're here. Quick gaming tip. For those of you out there who don't want to become like full-scale rivet counters or whatever, here's a quick thing to kind of keep an eye out for. As far as using Czech 38s go, never, and the rock means ever, never put Czech 38s and Panzerkampfwagen Mark IIIs, Panzer IIIs and Czech 38s on the same table. That's a thing that grognards will jump on you in 2 seconds about. If a division is equipped with Czech 38s, they don't have Mark IIIs, and vice versa. 7th Panzer, the Ghost Division, Rommel's famous Panzer Division in 1940, was one of 2 out of 10 that were equipped with those Czech 38s, which is why I wanted to include them.
And I'm back after the last moment there.
Cool. Right now, Czech 38s are fast as hell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I left that Mark III off the table, Rasmus, because I'm sorry, that Mark IV off the table because I didn't want the game to get absurd or whatever. And it's just 1 tank platoon anyway. Alright, so a little tiny piece of 25th Panzer Regiment has finally made it through that French battle. It's taking place 1 board over to the west. And they've kind of whipped down this road and sped around the top. So Rommel's division in 1940 is famous for being called the Ghost Division. They're so fast, they can never, even the German commanders don't know where the hell he's at. That's why they called him that. And one reason is because the bulk of his 25th Panzer Regiment is made up of these 38Ts and these Mark IIs, which have very high movement rates. These are even faster than most German tanks. Most German tanks of this period have 7s or 8s. These have 9s and 10s. So this is one reason why Rommel's division was able to achieve such incredible breakthroughs. It wasn't the strongest Panzer division, not by a long shot. That's 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. The 1st and 2nd are famously with Guderian's 19th Motorized Corps further south. But Rommel's division was one of the fastest. And, he made his reputation accordingly.
Speed have a quality all of its own.
Oh, yeah. So,
as the Matildas are showing.
Oh god, yeah. So I might even be able to retake that farmhouse, but then again, he's probably going to splash Rommel with some artillery. So yeah, this game's still up in the air, folks. All right, so that's going to be it for German movement phase. I've done my close assault. That's it for German movement phase. We now go to turn 6, and then we can probably start to wrap it up there. I mean, if I'm not trying to I haven't lost yet. Let's quick end the stream so I don't have to admit I lost. Number 1, I'm not sure I've lost yet. And number 2, we can always come back to this game later. I just don't want to have like a 10-hour stream.
Yes.
We can always continue this game if anyone wants to see the rest of it, later in the week or next week or who knows what. That's up to everyone's availability. But again, we're now coming up on 3 hours on stream, so take it easy on everybody. All right, so it is now the beginning of British turn 6. We're technically halfway through the game. And it is time for Rasmus to plot his next turn's artillery, and when he's done with that, we will call in his last turn's artillery. While he's doing that, how is everyone doing in the chat? Hey, Ben Johnson is on YouTube. Mr. Ben, how you doing, sir? And he is Amphibious Monster on Tabletop. He is my younger brother and my first Panzer Leader disciple. Yeah, we're doing pretty good here. This game is relatively small. I mean, it's on a regular, standard Ben, I can talk total Panzer leader lingo to Ben, because trust me, he knows. He's been playing this game almost as long as I have. This is exactly what you would see, Ben, if I zoom out all the way, what you would see on two standard Panzer leader, published boards. So it is 33 hexes long and 20 hexes high. So take two regular Panzer leader boards out of the map, put them together. That's this table. Obviously, the board is custom. It creates the battle, or recreates part of the battlefield of Arras, 21 May 1940. And yeah, the game is Rasmus is playing the British. I'm playing the Germans. And he has one objective hex right now. He's about to take one more, possibly two more. If he takes 3 out of 5, he wins.
And hopefully blow up good old Rommel.
Well, yeah, Rommel is the third one. So he owns this one. He's probably about to take this one. These 3 are kind of out of play at the moment. I don't think he's close to taking those 3. But again, just for fun, what we're playing around with is a special rule. Like, it doesn't really make sense, but it's fun. It makes the stream more fun. Is Rommel himself is on the table. That's him in his special half track. If he gets killed, or his unit gets eliminated, he doesn't get killed, but his radios get blown up, his staff is scattered. He's out of the battle, if not the war. He might get wounded. The point is, he counts as an objective. Because why not? Alright, so if you're done with your artillery, Rasmus, we'll go ahead and resolve current artillery.
Yes, if you could zoom in one tad.
Sure.
I know which hex I'm hitting, I just need to take down the number. Yes.
Okay, let's call on artillery from last turn.
And they go straight on the head of good old Erwin.
Oh no! That's not good at all. Oh no, this might be the end for Mr. Rommel here. Alright. That has a total of 14, because you got 2. I'm assuming that was both batteries?
Yes.
I see I regret giving you that second battery now. 2 batteries of 18 pounders. 14 points against 3, that's 4-1. Add 1 to the die roll. Rommel could survive this.
On a 2?
Nope, he's dead. Kaboom. Oh no, that's an objective. That's
and
okay.
Half track.
My Mark 3s are about, or my Mark 38s are about to take back that farmhouse. You did not get incapacitated in vain, Mr. Rommel. Alright, so, yeah, meanwhile, you've got basically 4 plus 4 becomes 8. 8 versus 4 is 2-1.
Another 2.
That is read as a 3 because of the woods on 2-1. It is dispersed. Oh no, I moved the world. Alright, cool. That concludes artillery. We'll now go to direct fire.
No, it doesn't. I also had the mortar shooting at the infantry.
1 to 3. 3 versus 8 is a sloppy 1 to 3. You have to basically roll a 1.
Oh yeah, a 2, so.
Okay.
3 2s in a row, I mean.
What else we got? Okay, so yeah, now we go to direct fire. If any. There might not be any. Or at least very little.
That'll be a 4. Yeah, I might disperse one. So some Matilda machine gun fire into the to one of the tanks coming up the road.
I don't think that's allowed. No, because they're both I-class weapons. You have machine guns against armored tanks.
Okay, so.
No, I killed the Matildas over there. I hate to say it, but that's except for artillery. I think you're pretty much helpless on that side of the table.
Yeah. I think that's it for direct fire in that case.
Okay, we go to movement.
And for movement, yeah, we will
technically
go.
this smoke screen goes away. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep. The front Matilda 1 will go down and take the objective.
Alright, at the moment, Rasmus is winning. He now owns 3 objectives. Farmhouses, crossroads, and Rommel's headquarters unit is destroyed. So he wasn't overrun, so he's probably not killed or captured, but he is definitely inoperative as a division commander. Every regiment, battalion, and company commander is calling you on his radios, and nobody's answering the phone. Oh, that reminds me. The way, again, this is totally a house rule, but when the command unit gets knocked out, we roll a d6. On a 1, 2, or a 3, all is well. The assistant division commander takes over and everything's fine. On a 4, 5, or 6, whatever level you were at, morale-wise, drops 1. So, let me turn on the camera because this is an important one. We're looking for a nice low roll. I got a 5. All German units are now morale C because Rommel is battlefield tactics-wise incapacitated. He's cut off from the rest of his unit. He's probably limping back to this town across, boggy French fields, with a wound, a shrapnel wound over his eye, or who knows what. Maybe he is wounded, who knows. But no matter what, he's not picking up the phone. And his division just got a lot more shaky. The importance of command. Okay, sorry about that. Where were we? Okay, so you took the objective X. Any other movement?
Yeah, the 3 ones behind him.
Yep.
Will swing out and stay behind him.
Cool. Ben, if you're still with us, what do you think of these Matilda's movement rates? These are the pre-Matilda Matildas. These are the Matilda 1s. Obviously, the Matilda 2s that you see in the desert have a forward movement, but how would you like playing Panzer leader with tanks with a movement rate of 2? They're literally the same as infantry at this point.
Well, the British classified them as infantry tanks.
That's true. Absolutely. Okay, and then you've got one more armored battle group out there to the east.
Yeah, and that one will actually split up again. The Matilda 2 will move down 3, and then 1 over into 709.
Got it.
And the other guys will move in on the road and then follow the road.
That's 1 on the road, and then double movement on the road. 1, 2. Alright.
And then we got a close assault.
Oh, that's true. I keep forgetting about those guys up there. Ben will attest to this. Ben, how many times is there just some random little sideshow that's always going on? There's always a sideshow. No matter how often we try to keep it from happening, it always somehow happens. Okay, it is 1 to 2. Subtract 2 from the die roll.
That'll be a 0 again.
A 0 is dispersed again. Almost a kill. A 1 will kill him. A 1 knocks it down to a -1, which on 1 to 2 will kill him. Unless I fail a rally check. Which just became a lot more likely because Rommel's not picking up the phone. So I now have to roll against a C morale instead of a B morale.
And I got one more tank out there under the burning...
Yep, this guy over here.
Cool. Yep. Send him into town.
Get in there.
Saturation.
Yep, that's those Czech 38's got their work cut out for them. Okay, that's just literally going to be a lot of... That's just a question of time and ammunition. Also, when I move up and I engage, I'm going to expose myself to your artillery. Your artillery can damage tanks. Those machine guns, those Vickers machine guns and those Matilda 1s cannot. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. You don't have anything to rally, I don't think. Let me triple check. I don't think so. Nope. All right, cool. Beginning of German turn 6.
Last turn for today?
Yeah, I think so. Which, I mean, yeah, we can come back to this later, whatever it's convenient for anybody. If you want, it's totally up to you. I normally don't suggest that, but this game is actually, like, right on the...
On the knife's edge.
Right on the edge, yeah. We'll see. Right now, you've got 3, though. So right now, you're ahead. It's whether or not you still have 3 at the end of turn 10. So turn 6, just for fun. Turn 7, in case we ever come back to this. What am I doing? What am I doing? Oh, no. Actually, none. I know I just said that out loud again. I need to stop doing that. Okay, I already called it out like an idiot last turn, so surprise, surprise. My artillery lands on hex 2512 from last turn. That's where I thought there were still going to be some Matildas to deal with when I was trying to save Rommel. That did not happen. So, guess what? Artillery lands there for no reason. No worries. We will now move to German direct fire. I have 20 points of Czech 38s. Because they double at point blank range. This is the wrong part of the battlefield. I zoomed in too much. Oh no, there's Rommel. He got... Oh, technically, let me do my air phase. Sorry. Air phase takes place before direct fire. Again, this is probably a dumb move, but it's just fun to do for fun. That's a really dumb move. I'm going to try and shut down some of this British artillery. So I'm going to stray from that direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are no longer halved because you're within 7 hexes. You are now 8 on anti-aircraft fire. 8 versus...
So let's throw some lead up in the air.
Yep, 8. You're now on this row. A 1 kills, a 2 will drive off.
And a 3 will have no effect.
3 has no effect. Now my 3 mighty machine gun points. Stukas were not exactly great strafing planes, but they did have some machine guns. So I got 3 points versus 2. That is 1 to 1. Add 1 to the die roll for your woods. Basically, I have to roll a 1 or a 2 to disperse you. That is a 3. Because of woods, that's no effect. If you were in the open, that would have pinned down that battery. Okay, no worries. Now we'll go to direct fire. Direct fire is 2 points plus 20 is a grand total of 22. That doesn't make a difference. I still wind up with a 3 to 1. All right, so he's not going to fire the battery, the anti-aircraft battery. It's just going to be the 2 platoons of tanks. These guys can't see you yet because they're on the bottom of the hill. They have to move again. But for now, 20 versus 6 is 3 to 1. Add 1 for the buildings that you're in. Come on, give me a 1 or a 2. Do it! A 2. That is 1 platoon of Mark 3s. Mark 3s. I'm sorry, 1 platoon of A11s destroyed. We're starting to chop down that tree. It's literally just going to be work and time. The tree does not fight back. Alright, I'm pretty sure that is it for direct fire, because my artillery fired. He's not going to do anything right now. Pinned, no range, doing something else, can't see. Yep, that's it for my direct fire phase. Movement phase, moving swiftly forward. Now I'll push him up. Now I'm going to push these guys up. Those guys can take opportunity fire against infantry targets if they want. Those are soft targets.
Might as well.
Alright, you've got 1 to 2 odds, no penalties. A 1 or a 2.
A 3.
3, just missed it. So now the counterattack is still legal. If you had pinned one of those guys down, the counterattack becomes illegal. But for now, we'll do the counterattack at the end of my movement. These two clowns are going to 1, 2, actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see you. Not that I'll have artillery left by that point, but I might be able to call on counter battery fire on your artillery now that this guy can see. Aircraft cannot spot for ground targets unless you have specifically a spotting aircraft, which they do have rules for. I just did not put any in this scenario. I think for the Germans, those are HS-123s or 129s. Or, I can't remember the number.
Scout planes.
Yeah, there's basically a German spotter plane that calls in artillery, but normal Stukas and stuff like that normally don't do that. The opposite is usually the case. You have to be spotted by a ground target or have fired from within a certain amount of distance, whatever, to be spotted by an air unit. And there are rules for that in Panzer Leader. But anyway, I think that's going to be about it for my movement. Alright, I'm going to try to rally those stupid anti-tank guns. A 4, they fail. Also, I'm morale level C now, so I have to remember that. Oh, I have infantry up here. I need a 1 or a 2 to rally now that I'm morale C. Infantry unit. A 3, he now fails. He would have succeeded, but Rommel didn't pick up the phone. That means he might be killed next turn. And, oh, my half-tracks down here. Rommel's half-tracks. Come on, rally, please. Oops. 5, he also fails. Yeah, my morale checks are going to get a lot tougher now. There's only 4 levels, A, B, C, and D. Technically there's an E, but we won't get into that. But A, B, C, and D are the main 4 from Arab-Israeli Wars, and there's a big difference between all 4. And the difference between B and C is ugly. Alright, but I think that's going to be it for my movement. I now have a close assault. I have 2 close assaults. Close assault number 1. 4 versus 12 is 1 to 3 is technically legal. Subtract 2, add 1. So it's 1 to 3, subtract 2. 1 to 3, subtract 1. That is a 2, subtract 1. That may have actually done something. Yeah, that dispersed them. Barely. Yeah, add 1 for town, subtract 2 for close assault. So here, guys, is when you see I'm attacking him with tanks. I'm about to be, spoilers, I'm attacking him with artillery as well. And also close assaulting him with infantry. We're using combined arms to attack the same hex more than once in a turn. And that's really important in Panzer Leader, guys, because what you're doing there is you're attacking him where you get to subtract 1 for a dispersed unit. You get to kill on a double dispersal before he gets a chance to rally. And that's where a little bit of the secret sauce for Panzer Leader comes in. Then we have this one, which is also 1 to 3. He's in the open. I'm going to try and, I mean, it's kind of pointless because I don't get to reoccupy the hex after that. But just for fun, here it comes. A 6. That's a blatant failure. Alright, so that close assault, epic failed. And that will conclude the German turn. Alright guys, so that's the end of turn 6. We're now 2/3 the way through this Panzer Leader game. But again, we've now been streaming for about 3 hours. Actually, a little more than 3 hours. So other people have got stuff to do. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the stream for now.
Yes.
We super appreciate you guys coming out for our support. Whether or not we come back to this game, again, that's going to be up to Rasmus and up to me and our availability or whatever. Or we can call it here. Again, these games are all experimental. I usually run a game at least 2 or 3 times of a scenario that I designed before I say, okay, this is how it goes. The reason I don't do that for a live game is because that gives me an unfair advantage. I've played this exact board 2 or 3 times before. So I'd rather just play it blind and have fun than try to get super scientific about it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still just a game. But right now, Rasmus has 3 objectives. He owns this one, although he's about to lose it. He owns this one. He's not going to lose it. And he killed Rommel. Rommel's not coming back to life. So he's got at least 2. I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to the third one, but he might take one of these other ones down here later on in the game. There are 2 more objective hexes more or less open and waiting, and I don't really have a heck of a lot left to stop him. So by turn 10, this could go from a British victory to a German victory back to a British victory. This one is kind of crazy, which is what I like. I like games that are at least a little
close
tense.
force.
Yeah, right up until the end. Yeah.
And if I can get rid of that piece of infantry up there, then my infantry can actually start playing a role in the game again.
Oh yeah, because then you know what happens? If you can kill him on turn 7, turn 8 you move here. Well, technically he's already failed to rally. So here's what you would do. On turn 7, you move, because he's pinned
around
down.
him.
You move here, then you do your close assault. You probably kill him on turn 7. Or even if you don't, fuck him, forget about him. And then on turn 9, you close assault this unit.
Yep.
And maybe
that
you take that
was the
objective.
plan.
Yeah. Your odds are not great, but again, once you get close enough, you start calling artillery on them. Yeah, that's why I wanted to give the British some artillery. With no airstrikes and nothing to really dig German anti-tank guns and infantry out of towns, you have to give the British at least some artillery. I know for a fact 368th of the 92nd was supporting 6th Durham Light Infantry. I know that 6th Durham Light Infantry was helping to the east. I don't know how much of them would have kind of shouldered over into this western board. Just to make the game a little more interesting, I decided to shave off about a third of 6th Durham Light Infantry and put them on this table. Most of Durham Light Infantry, this is like 1/3 of Durham Light Infantry. That's like 1 company's worth. Of 6th Durham Light Infantry is a battalion of at least 3, if not 4 companies. I only put 1 company on this map, the rest of them are further to the east. But once I was able to historically justify at least some of 6th DLI here on this board, you can bring in the artillery batteries that are documented to be supporting them. And I wanted to bring in at least some artillery. Otherwise the British literally stand no chance. At least, I mean, how did you knock out both 88 batteries, Rasmus? I mean,
artillery.
Yeah, you have to have at least some artillery. And then, of course, the Germans can shut that down with air power or counter battery fire. So it's not like you're giving the British like a free win or whatever, but at least you're giving them a fighting chance. And in a game, that's what it's all about. Otherwise, it's not that much fun. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out Mr. Stream. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
That was a quick game for Panzer Leader. Actually, this was a normal game for Panzer Leader. The problem with James and Oriskany, myself, is I tend to make really big games of Panzer Leader that take way too long. This is much more normal. If you actually look at the scenario cards in the 1970 and 1974 box set, they're about this size. It's just when Oriskany starts making computer counters, i.e. unlimited number of computer counters, that's when it gets absurd and blows up. But, yeah. We'll be in touch later on. So anyway, like I said, Season 5 on Sitrep Podcast has officially started. I'm not sure when Jana's going to roll out the podcast, but it is in the can. People on Patreon should be getting it pretty shortly. And that's going to kick us off for Season 5. Summer break is officially over, so keep an eye out for stuff from Jana and Gaz and other members of the team. Marty up there in Chicago. But for now, we're going to go ahead and close this out. Thanks, as always, everybody, for all your support, as always. We have new merch up on Sazzle.com. We have the new Sitrep Beer Stein, which is epic. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I got one of them standing here. I just need to run it through the dishwasher at one point.
You need to run it through the dishwasher, then you need to go ahead and fill that up with some beer, man. And it's Sunday night. Come on now. All right, guys, we're taking off. Thanks again, everybody. And we'll talk to you again very soon. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.